Yo, what's up? Welcome to PS I Love You XOXO episode 93. I'm one of your hosts, Blessing Adeoye Jr. Joining me is Gameonicist, aka Janet Garcia.
Yo, what's good?
Not much, Janet. How's it going with you?
It's going pretty good. I just adjusted my room setup, which on camera is like almost not noticeable at all because it's the same background, but I now have 2 desks again, where me and my boyfriend are back to separate desks after our experiment of combining desks into one ultimate desk. And I'm waiting for like just my monitor arms to come back. So if you see me slightly looking like a little bit not at the camera, that's because like the camera is literally in the center of 3 monitors, which is just inconvenient enough to not help me read anything, face, words, anything. But I'm sure you struggle.
We're far enough in the work from home setup of KindaFunny that I think the folks are used to none of us looking at our cameras. Like I think especially like we have some of us that are straight up looking diagonal for half the time or for most of the time. Like I think people understand and get it at this point, and we've set a good expectation of don't expect good quality. Expect like a good, hey, we're good enough here. We're good enough here at KindaFunny. Janet, I want to give a shout out to one. You mentioned that you changed up your setup. I feel like you're more centered. Is am I accurate in saying that? Are you more like
100% she's more centered, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, this exact moment, because like if we go first person, right? If you walk with me into my mind's eye, when I look straight ahead of me, I'm looking at like 2 monitors and there's one over here. But for looking at like you, which is the camera, because you're actually like on a monitor, obviously, like I have to slightly turn. So I'm pretty centered. And then it helps that I'm by, my closets have mirrors on them, like the doors are mirrors. So there's a reflection of my shelf also in the mirror, which I think kind of helps. Like,
and it makes it look like your room is huge, which I appreciate. My room actually is huge. Like I got very lucky. We have like, I don't know what the square footage is offhand, but it's definitely by far the largest bedroom I've ever had like in my life. It's like really giant, which is very convenient because we have to have 2 desks in here and a bed and like whatever other things we own. So we lucked out there. Gotcha. I also do want to shout out, you got the Halloween get up once again. You have a good Halloween cape, and you also have some good some horns there. I got some antennas.
Yeah, and then I have just like my PS I Love You sweatshirt on because like trying to keep it thematic. I'm very sad that, no spoilers, that our costume collaboration has not yet come to fruition yet. I hope it's by Friday when we do Games Daily together, which if folks haven't tuned in a while, we're now hosting together on Fridays. I'm really hoping
Fridays.
Yes, PS I Love Fridays. Love the branding. Shout to L2 Larson for that. I'm really hoping that comes through because I really want, like, it's really good. That's the thing. Maybe I'm overhyping it. I'm excited about it. I've been looking forward to it for a while because I have my costume, but Blessing's waiting on his. So we'll see if that comes through.
I do want to give a shout. Oh, also shout out to your mug, the Last of Us Part 2 mug.
Yeah, that's actually my least favorite part of the mug. The fact that this is Last of Us Part 2, but on the front, I'm so hyped. It says Seattle Roaster Cafe, which it's a little blurry because I have like the filters on and stuff. But it is the in-game coffee shop that you see all the time. And like, I love that they made merch of that because I was like, one of my favorite things in The Last of Us specifically is sort of those like quiet walking sim kind of moments where like you killed all the enemies already, except like spoilers, sometimes you'll still get attacked. But when it's kind of vacant and you're just looking at like decrepit buildings and stuff like that downtown area where there's like, the queer bookstore and the juice shop, and there's like a bar. And I live for that stuff, like walking around and looking at those details. So I thought it was really cool they had merch for that coffee shop.
Oh yeah. Now, speaking of Halloween, I feel like I got to give an apology because last week I may have threatened to slander a certain Halloween company, fun.com. Of course, they sent you over, Janet, 3 different Halloween sweaters, which offended me because they had originally hit me up about a month and a half ago to send me a couple of Halloween sweaters that I appreciate, and I love these Halloween sweaters, but they had buttered me up and made me feel special and made me feel awesome, right? They addressed me as the king of Halloween, which I am. And when they sent you 3 Halloween sweaters, I was taken aback because I thought that we had something special going between me and Fun Costumes. And so I kind of went on a tirade last week. I kind of went on a rant. And, you know, I told them, I was like, hey, I will slander your name. Hey, like Spirit Halloween, better Halloween brand.
Please don't do that.
I said all these things.
This is what happens when I don't run a show. You fucking go off the rails.
Well, Roger stopped me. Roger at one point was like, all right, we're going too far. But I mean,
like he'll make this statement and then immediately be like, actually, no, I don't agree with what I just said.
Actually, I really now that I've had time to sit and calm down, maybe I went too far. But I do want to say though that fun costumes, they have come around for me, you know, fun.com, because this last week they sent me a gift in the mail. And this gift, you know, I gave a shout out to your headwear. They sent me this nice king cap that
your mother scene where what is it? Barney was like, I never joke. Remember when I said that if I hooked up with that girl, I'd be the king, and he bought himself a crown.
See, this reminds me more of like Lord Farquaad from Shrek, you know?
I've never worn a hat that is more fitting than this, and I've worn many a hat, Janet. Big shout out to funcostumes.com, acknowledging me as the king of Halloween, which I am, and having me looking real regal nowadays. I'm looking real regal. I'm not gonna wear this because now I can't wear my headphones on top of this. It's kind of impossible, but I just wanted to give a shout out.
A true king would figure it out, you know?
Yeah, I know. See it.
I will put this in the background though, so people can see it throughout the episode. There we go.
I like how you like the background. It's like just your mattress behind you.
It's part of the background. The mattress is in my
It's just this empty bed, but with a crown on it.
You know, my boyfriend's the one who like redesigns our room all the time. Like he has like his iPad and he'll like make measurements and like make mock-ups of the room and everything. And I'm just like, I just kind of clear the ones that I am most interested in. He sort of does like all the brainstorming of that. But a few of those configurations did involve our bed being in the background. And I was just thinking like, I don't want to live that blessing life of having to make
it's
my
the
bed.
Worst. I hate it.
He's doing like a lot of times I'll sleep while he's streaming, which is already hard enough because I don't have noise canceling headphones. So I'm just out here blasting like ocean sounds into my ear with like a blanket over my face, just trying to get some rest. So I'm like, no, I can't.
Yeah. While we're behind the curtain, I do want to ask Spirit, because before this we were doing a lot of like sound adjusting because we know that sometimes Janet's microphone will cut out. We've been trying to fix the issue. Now what I've been running into is I feel like I hear my echo coming through your headphones a lot, Janet. If you're able to maybe turn down the volume of your headphones, if that's not too much of a hassle, because
I just did it.
I'm still hearing myself.
Yeah, that's super weird. And now I hear the echo of myself too. So I don't know if that's more of a headphone issue and just somehow the feedback within Janet's computer of like the desktop audio somehow feeding into Discord in some way, shape, or form.
I don't know. I hate that. Is it better now? I lowered it pretty low.
I think it's better. I'm talking right now and I don't hear myself. And so for now, we'll say it's better. But again, we'll fix this as we go. It's fun because this is early quarantine, like kind of funny when we made the transition. I feel like all of us had so many issues of trying to figure out, okay, how do we figure out this person's audio? All right, why does this person sound like this? All right, we're hearing echoes. All right, this person's internet is bad. And now that you're on PS Love You every single week and we're in that post-Greg era,
fix my shit.
Yeah, it's finally time to start fixing Janet's setup, and so we'll figure it out as we go. Of course, you know we can't hit it perfect every time, but we'll figure all this out. But for now, I do want to remind everybody out there that this is PS I Love You XOXO, your PlayStation podcast. Each and every week, we join you to talk about the biggest topics in PlayStation. If you like that, you can watch it live right here as we record on patreon.com/KindaFunnyGames, or you can watch it on Tuesday when it posts for everyone on youtube.com/KindaFunnyGames, roosterteeth.com, and on podcast services around the globe. Remember, you can use Epic creator code KindaFunny on all Epic Store and Epic in-game purchases like Rocket League and Fortnite to help support the channel. Housekeeping for you, our Guardians of the Galaxy review is up right now as a KindaFunny Gamescast. That's featuring me, Tim, Snow Michael, and the momentary return of Greg Miller. You can catch that on youtube.com/KindaFunnyGames and on podcast services around the globe. Yeah, that's right. Greg, when he had a child, he was approved to be on two pieces of content. The Guardians of the Galaxy review and the Ghostbusters Afterlife review. And so you get them twice for the rest of the year. And so the first one is up right now, so you don't want to miss that. And then speaking of youtube.com/KindaFunnyGames, Barrett's Arkham series continues with a video all about Arkham Origins and whether it still holds up. That is up right now. And the final episode, all about Arkham Knight, premieres this Sunday on Halloween at 2:30 p.m. Pacific time. So get hyped for that. Thank you to our Patreon producers, Pranksy, Tyler Ross, Delaney Twinning, Julian the Gluten-Free Gamer, Alex J. Sandoval, Techie Haas, James Hastings, and Casey Andrew. Today we're brought to you by ExpressVPN, Purple Mattress, and DraftKings, but we'll tell you about that later. For now, let's begin with what is, and forever will be, topic of the show. Now, this is a very exciting week, Janet, because we have an upcoming State of Play. This is detailed last week in a PlayStation blog written by Sid Schumann, who wrote, "Hello again. Just a quick note to tell you that State of Play returns next Wednesday, October 27th at 2 p.m. Pacific time. As usual, you can watch our broadcast live on Twitch and YouTube. This time out, we'll be focusing on new announcements and updates for upcoming third-party releases headed to PS5 and PS4. Let me say that again. Upcoming third-party releases headed to PS5 and PS4. The show is looking to be around 20 minutes or so, and we'll share new looks at previously announced games, plus a few reveals from our partners around the globe. See you Wednesday." Now, coming off of that, I got a question in from I'm James Gretsch, who wrote into patreon.com/KindaFunnyGames, just like you can. It says, with it being announced that this week's State of Play is focused on upcoming third-party games, do you think that we may also see some new third-party games we don't even know about yet? Something like a new Persona game, the next game from NetherRealm, or maybe even the long-awaited new game from Playdead. Whatever it is, do you think we're in for any third-party surprises? P.S. Final Fantasy 16, when? Janet, coming off that question, today's topic of the show is going to be all about our predictions, hopes, and dreams for this week's State of Play. And I came to you and I was like, hey, bring one of each, all right? Bring one prediction. We each brought one prediction. We each brought one hope, something that we hope to see or we want to see, and then one dream, right? What would be a dream announcement at the State of Play? Before we get into those, I want to talk about three things, all right? I want to ask, one, what are our hype levels for the State of Play? Janet, where are you at with it?
I'm pretty excited for it, just in the sense that I wasn't expecting us to get really anything. Like, I know we talked about this a little bit on Games Daily, whether or not we'd see anything from this. And you're like, yeah, I figured we'd get maybe one more before the year was done. I was kind of the mind that, like, we're done. Just because it's October, it's late October. At this point, it's time to pack it in. You know, we got the holidays coming through. What you have is what you have, and that's kind of it. So I am excited in that sense, and I'm also excited because thinking back to like the last State of Play, usually there's, I feel like, one or two things that's kind of wavy. Maybe it's not as, mind-blowing as something you get from a PlayStation Showcase or, E3 or something like that. But I feel like usually there's at least one or two things that are sort of a little bit more on the exciting front, or at least a little bit more unexpected. Most notably with the last one, I think, being, I think the director's cut of Death Stranding was sort of like the somewhat left field one, or even Moss to a degree. Seeing that was a bit of a surprise and a welcomed one at that. So I'm pretty excited. Like, and it's also one of those weird things where State of Play has never been like completely fire either. So it's kind of like, as long as you give me at least one or two things that I can sort of angle as something that's worth looking forward to, it'll be cool. So I have kind of like low expectations in that sense, but it also makes it easier for me to enjoy the showcase. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. What about you?
I'm at probably a low to medium expectations place, where coming off of the PlayStation Showcase, they gave us all the bangers there. And a lot of that stuff was first party, but then a lot of it too was third party. And having a State of Play about a month or so after that makes me think that, okay, we're going to get something comparable to the State of Play that we got back in, I want to say, July. And speaking of that, I have a recap here in front of me, right, to help kind of set where we're at. Because, you mentioned that State of Play has never really been super fire. And I'm kind of right there with you. I think State of Play has had their moments of, oh shit, like here's a Resident Evil thing, or oh shit, I believe we got some good Last of Us info from a State of Play, Last of Us Part 2 info from a State of Play in fall 2019. They have shining moments like that, and they have those State of Plays that are, here's a focus in on one game. I think of the Horizon Forbidden West State of Play that we got back in the spring, and I think those are the good ones, but it's been kind of up and down in terms of, or not even up and down. It's been in very much a middle place in terms of what that hype level for State of Play is. I think they've done they've done a good job of setting that level of, hey, we have our PlayStation showcases, which are the things that you should get the most excited about. We have our PlayStation blog drops that we have every now and then where we're announcing 7 new indie games coming to PlayStation via Twitter that we'll detail on the PlayStation blog, or 5 new VR games that we'll announce on Twitter and then detail via the PlayStation blog. They have those things as well too, and then like random info dumps that they'll put on the blog as well. I think State of Play is kind of that good medium place where it's not the best of the best announcements, it's not the biggest of the announcements, but also you could get cool things here and there too. And so when we look at the July State of Play, to recap it real quick, right? That's where we did get Moss Book 2, which you just mentioned, and that's coming to PSVR. We got Arcadegeddon, which is coming from Ilphonic, who did things like the the Predator Hunting Grounds game, and the Friday the 13th game. We got Tribes of Midgard, which had been previously announced, but was being shown at that State of Play. We got more gameplay of Fist, Forged, and Shadow Torch. We got Hunter's Arena Legends, and that was a game that was coming to PS Plus. We got a gameplay teaser of Sifu. We got more from Jet the Far Shore, and I believe that included. I guess no, that didn't include a release date. I think that was just more gameplay. We got some gameplay from Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, the Hinokami Chronicles. We got some gameplay from Lost Judgment. We got Death Stranding Director's Cut, but that was one that was also a re-reveal of sorts because we had gotten the original reveal at Jeff Keighley's Summer Games Fest kickoff back in June during E3. And so this was a reiteration of, hey, this exists, and hey, here's some more gameplay of it, which is cool. And then, of course, like in any State of Play, we got Deathloop gameplay. And so, like, nothing there really was a banger standout announcement. I do think Arcadegeddon was a pretty cool one to get there, and then also Moss Book 2 being I think that was a good one, as well as hey, here's a game that a lot of you guys are excited about that's coming in the far future. I think stuff like that is cool. But I think that helps me level where I'm at with this State of Play, and I'm just like, okay, cool. I mean, I expect maybe 1 or 2 announcements that may speak to me in like a medium level of hype, but I'm not expecting the best of the best, the greatest of the greatest. I'm not expecting the big AAA third-party stuff, but maybe I get surprised.
Yeah, I think what you mentioned is like a really good point, because they really do a good job, I think, tempering expectations on this, where I do find myself constantly, because usually these are announced, first time I see them usually Twitter, and then they always have like a link to a blog post on it, even if the blog post is literally like 3 sentences, but I'm combing over those sentences so carefully where, even looking at the language of this one, it's like, okay, it's third party, but it says focusing on third parties. So it's like, oh, okay, so there's like a technical hope that it could be more. I definitely think you shouldn't lean into that, like expectation-wise, like anyone, audience members, fans, just because it's probably going to be almost exclusively third party with maybe a mention of something that's first party. And even that, I would not be shocked if we didn't see anything that was first party at all in this. It's just always funny to like read so heavily into it, because since they do give you that like bit of expectation setting, I find myself like really honing in onto the specific language of it, especially with the time frame too. 20 minutes, it's like, okay, how much stuff can really be packed into this? Yeah,
with 20 minutes, that tells me that there's not a lot to talk about, and I do take them at their word when they say focusing on announcements and updates for upcoming third-party games. I think Nintendo is the company that always says, hey, we're doing a Nintendo Direct that's focused on games coming out this year, and then half the Direct will be about games coming out next year, or games that are coming out in the far future. So, what was that, Jane? You said something you cut out totally for me.
Like, what is with that? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, and I don't view PlayStation as being like that. I think when they say focusing on third-party announcements, I think it's going to be entirely third-party announcements. I don't see any first-party thing being in here, because I don't even know what would be in here if there was a first-party announcement.
We should start tracking, like we should make a chart and like track all of the language from all of the posts, and then like report back on any of those like extra layers that are in there that weren't expected. Because I do think what you're saying is probably right. Like historically, they lean a lot heavier on the specifics of the language that they choose, but I don't know. I am a little curious if we're here. And when I say first party too, I feel like it would at most, in my opinion or my guess, be like a reminder that Horizon's coming out or something. I don't think this is where they're going to unveil anything substantial from first party, but that's kind of what I mean by, will we see any first party stuff? Like, I feel like it'd be something like that, like a kind of essentially just a commercial reminding you of something that you already knew that's coming out.
So my final question before we get into our predictions is this the final State of Play for the year?
I think so. I feel like when else are we going to have another one? Oh, but God, what's Horizon? February? We're already Horizon thing though. I'm gonna say yes, but at this point, like nothing would shock me too much, especially because PlayStation is really big on choosing state of play as a branding for digging into some type of specific theme. So in this case, it's third parties. In other cases, it might be indies. In another case, we're still waiting for that. I think the only one that I could see happening maybe is like PSVR 2. I've been wondering, when are we going to get a look at PSVR 2? Because they've been very clear that, hey, when you see that, it's going to be its own separate thing. I could maybe see that dropping because I feel like it's so separate from the main like PlayStation console stuff that it could hit and it wouldn't feel like you're getting sort of flooded with information. But that's probably the most I would expect to see from PlayStation at this point in terms of formal presentations.
I could see this being the final one, though I also do hold out hope that we could see something in December as well. I think PlayStation historically hasn't shied away from December as a time to start to gear up on announcements for early in the next year, or even more far out announcements. PSX used to happen historically in December around that Game Awards time, and I think PlayStation they don't shy too much away from Game Awards as well. Like PlayStation is usually down to have a couple of things appear at one of Jeff Keighley's things, but I think if that's going to be the case, I wouldn't be surprised to see PlayStation come through and go, cool, we're gonna give Jeff Keighley a Horizon trailer and one other thing, maybe like a small God of War teaser, and then follow that up with a state of play that is focused on 2022 in games, that is Horizon, and then like maybe a deeper dive into that same God of War trailer, and then Gran Turismo and whatever smaller games that they have announced or partnered with for 2022. I could see it, but I do think with that, there is a good chance that this is the final one, and then the next state of play we get could be a late January, early February state of play that is focused all on Horizon, that is gearing up for that launch.
Yeah, I think either way, like what you're describing, I see happening. I wouldn't guess that it happened in 2021, but I also wasn't really expecting this one either. So it could really go either way.
Well, Janet, with that, let's hop into the topic proper. Like I said, I asked you, Janet, to bring one prediction being something that you think will happen, one hope being something that you want to happen, and then one dream being something that's unlikely but would be a dream announcement. With that, I also went to Twitter last night and I asked the audience to give us their submissions, and they absolutely came through and submitted a lot of fun ideas, fun predictions, hopes, and dreams for this state of play. And so I'm going to start with you, Janet. What is your one prediction for the state of play?
I feel like it's a little too bold, but I also don't want it to be like whack either. So I'm going with Final Fantasy 16. And I did some, searching on the internet about like what is the conversation been around the likelihood of Final Fantasy 16. And I found this article from The Gamer, written like 2 days ago by, hold on, let me get the name of it, George Foster, that was talking about just this is a little bit conspiracy theory cap a little bit, but it's like the website of Final Fantasy 16 being updated, and that sort of being a potential indicator that we'll see it. Interestingly enough, the fact that it didn't appear at Tokyo Game Show, I feel like is both a point for and against it, where you can argue, hey, it wasn't there. Maybe it's just not ready and we're not going to see it for a while because we have not seen it. Conversely, you can say, hey, it wasn't there. Maybe this is what they were waiting for. Maybe this is where we're going to see it. So you could really, it just depends on if you want to read that optimistically or pessimistically. But I feel like that would be, I don't want to say easy win, because I don't want to act like it's easy to put it together or to have that in a state that you want to dig into it further. But I feel like that'd be a clear hit for people and a sort of obvious shining star that folks are anticipating, folks are wanting, and it fits the bill for what they're doing. And I could see that as sort of the headliner of the whole thing, like the one announcement that everyone, or reveal that everyone's kind of talking about in depth, on top of the other sort of things that might serve as side dishes to, what this presentation is. So that's my prediction. I could definitely see it not happening, but that's the one I'm going to shoot for.
That's a wild one. That I feel like that immediately shoots above the expectations that we just set of like, Final Fantasy 16, if it was there, it would be the headliner. It would easily be all right, one more thing, or it's the thing that you're opening with. I would be shocked to see Final Fantasy 16. I think for what state of play,
Spider-Man. So let's just keep throwing it out there.
Final Fantasy 16 strikes me as more of this is a PlayStation Showcase level announcement, or PlayStation Showcase level, hey, we'll get into our big gameplay reveal here. I would be, again, it would catch me off. It would catch me off guard to see this one at a state of play. But also, I believe we've gotten big Resident Evil shit too out of state of plays too, and so it's not impossible. I would be surprised though. I think that would be really cool. Like I said earlier, though, right? Like I asked the audience what their thoughts are, and Joshy G did write in and said, "I'm coming in with no predictions, only hopes and dreams. I hope Bloodborne is getting a PS5 boost. I hope Final Fantasy 6. I hope for a Final Fantasy 16 trailer, and then I dream that Blue Point is making Bloodborne 2."
Two of those things aren't third party though.
Yeah, but I guess Bloodborne and a Blue Point thing wouldn't be third party.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I guess like it's falling in line of, you know,
it is
what
a
does
dream.
focus mean? Yeah. It is a dream, and then like, you know, do we think they're gonna stick to it? Which I think they're gonna stick to third party.
Something like boosting Bloodborne is, again, not to act like it's easy to do, but I feel like it's, you know, small enough that there's a world where that could sneak by. I definitely think something like Bloodborne 2 is like way too huge of a deal for something of this ilk that is specified as third party. Again, like I think something like boosting it, kind of having like that PS5 version, even though that is a huge deal to the community, it is small enough of a thing that it could in a world be in there. But yeah, Bloodborne 2 would be like gigantic. That would be like insane. My
prediction, and I feel like now that you said Final Fantasy 16, I'm coming at this from a very like not hype enough place. But my one prediction. Sorry, say that again.
I said, hopefully someone's right. Maybe if you go in safer.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. My prediction is that we'll see a banger game coming to PS Plus. And when I say banger, I mean day and date in the way that we've seen games like Maquette and Operation Tango and Destruction All Stars and Virtua Fighter 5, where it is, here's a brand new game that's coming to the platform that is also coming to PS Plus. I think PS Plus has been very good in the last year. I mean, throw in Bugsnax in there too, right? Like PS Plus has been really good in the last year, coming into the launch of the PS5, and they've done a good job of, even in the last few months, you know, I think the last few months have been a little on PS Plus, but that said, like Hell Let Loose, which is I believe this last month's latest game, still a new game to the platform, I believe, and so it kind of counts in that. But you know, I think this is the time where in the latest state of play they announced Hunter's Arena. I can't remember. I can never remember the name of this game because the
Hunter's
name is
Showdown?
ridiculous. No, Hunter's Arenas. I played this game, Barrett. I played this game for like a week. Hunter's Arena Legends.
There you go.
Hunter's Arena Legends, I believe, is what it's called. That was the game that was announced and then came to PS Plus the month after, and I think they do a pretty good job of having those like sleeper hits for PS Plus that you wouldn't expect to come through, and it's like, oh shit, all right, cool, yeah, I do want to check this out because this is something that hasn't been on the platform before. I think we're for sure gonna have one of those. The question is, what is that gonna be? And I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's something that has already been announced and exists. There's nothing that comes to mind, right? Like the games that were in that PlayStation PS5 future of the PS5 showcase that we got last year June. The only one left, I think, would be Little Devil Inside, which is one of my things here, and then also Goodbye Volcano High, which has a date now for 2022. And so there's nothing really that comes to mind.
I'm looking at the calendar now, and I know it's a little farther off since this is, you know, in a couple of days, and we'd have to wait a month. But Solar Ash comes out December 2nd, so I feel like that would be a good one for like right at the beginning of the month to hit that kind of PlayStation Plus window. I think that would be like a really good like end of the final PlayStation Plus free games of the year, and having that. But I know that's a little like far off, so I don't know if that would be at this week's event, right?
Yeah, that would be sick. And I'm also looking at I'm looking at a Game Informer's 2021 release calendar, right? And like the only other games I see is there's a game called Bloodshore, and I have no idea what that is, but it's coming out the first week in November on like all platforms. And so like, you know, maybe there's something like that is kind of under the radar that they announced for it that makes us go, oh, I'll check this out and see what it is. But you know, like the other games that would have came to mind would have been Fist, Forged and Shadow Torch, which has already come out, Recompile, which has already come out, right? Like I think it would be something that maybe we're not aware of, or something that maybe has already come out but is a bit higher profile. I know Overcooked All You Can Eat was a recent PS Plus game that is a pretty good one for a PS Plus, and so you know I think we'll for sure get that there. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I think that's a really good one, and that's definitely like one I'm hoping for. I don't have it listed on my hope because I can only choose one thing to hope. You only get one hope, so I didn't list it for that. But I would really love that, and I totally agree with you. I think PS Plus has been pretty fire this year. I'm someone who really doesn't play most of like those free monthly games unless I'm genuinely really interested in it, because I'm like, look, it's just like more like it's just adding to the pile of games that I just randomly have along with like humble bundles or other like deals that I've picked up. But I feel like for PlayStation Plus, I've really been able to easily dig into some really cool games and like play stuff that I otherwise might have missed. Like Operation Tango, we talk about all the time, is like it was so good, and like Maquette was one of my favorite games early in the year. It did drop from like my top 10 fairly quickly because there's just other games that I thought were a little bit more interesting. But I love that out the gate, and I really hope that we see something that we haven't heard about before, or that might be like new, like the first time it's sort of revealed, that can kind of take the limelight, because I think that's when PS Plus is at its best, when it can really highlight a quality game and sort of make that the conversation of the month. And I think that especially thrives in, you know, windows where the first party lineup isn't exactly, you know, hitting at the time, and it can kind of take up more space than it may normally get to.
Yeah, like a lot of this is about, I think, building consistent conversation throughout the year and building a steady flow of things to get excited about on the platform. And, you know, by the end of this year, when we're doing our PS I Love You awards, like we did at the end of last year, one of our categories for it last year was the best PS Plus game. And I think this year is going to be a really good conversation in terms of what is the best PS Plus game this year. Because I think of Operation Tango as being such a banger one, right? But then you do have the maquettes, you do have like others that aren't coming to mind immediately, but like Oddworld was on there, Destruction All Stars is on there, but like, you know, there are plenty of good. Final Fantasy VII Remake was on PS Plus this year, right? There are some bangers in there.
I feel like that's gonna be a rough conversation, because like if we're going what's the better game, I mean that game's better than like most games.
Yeah,
I really liked Operation Tango, so I don't know.
Hey, it's best PS Plus game. You define it how you want to define it. I would go for something like a Operation Tango or something of along those lines. I guess Final Fantasy VII Remake, though, is such a banger one that we'll get there when we get there. Okay. We'll have that conversation. Okay. Final Fantasy VII Remake was Game of the Year last year. Bear it, mind you.
Yeah,
according to KindaFunny,
like not everybody got to vote in that Game of the Year award stuff, which, you know, I don't know if I really agree with, but, you know, to each their own.
Well, to each their own, just like Ryan Powella Higgins, who wrote into patreon.com/KindaFunnyGames. And again, I asked you, what's a prediction, hope, or dream you have for this week's State of Play? Ryan wrote in and says, hey, Bless and Janet, I really think this State of Play will be one of the weakest. 2021 has clearly been a tough year for most developers, and I feel like this State of Play will spend most of the time giving release dates to third-party games that we have previously seen trailers for. I don't expect any shocking/big new titles. Stray, Little Devil Inside, and Goodbye Volcano High will get their release dates, and the stream will end with Forspoken getting a late 2022 release date. And Ryan, you're contradicting yourself here, because what you just described was a banger State of Play. If we get a release dates for those four games, Stray, Little Devil Inside, Goodbye Volcano High, and Forspoken, that's a banger State of Play compared to what we've gotten in recent memory.
Yeah,
but I do think I do think that you're spot on in terms of like what the expectations for what kind of games you're going to be getting there. Sorry, Janet, go on.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, reading over this, like, write-in, like, the opening was just so damning. It's like, this is gonna be one of the weakest State of Plays, because, again, we talked about State of Play isn't exactly, you know, hot fire, necessarily. It's not where, like, the wow moment of the year is gonna come from. Sure, maybe the sum of their parts, but not as a standalone. So I do, but yeah, if it did have all those, that would kind of be a lot. Specifically, the Forspoken thing, I think, would be a big deal. But yeah, the likelihood of all of those indie titles that we've seen before all getting release dates, yeah, that would be, I wouldn't say that would make it like an absolute like fire thing. And I kind of think that Ryan's sort of writing from a place of, when we think of hype and excitement, to a degree, it either has to be an unknown quantity, or it needs to be something that is so highly anticipated that it like blows your mind to see a release date for it. And as much as like I'm excited for those indie titles, I understand like what Ryan means by they're not going to lose their mind over getting a release date for Little Devil Inside, even though that is a game that I'm looking forward to, and I'm sure Ryan probably is as well. But I do get that when it comes to hype and excitement, that doesn't move the needle quite the same way as like a different title getting a release date would.
Now, speaking of Little Devil Inside, right, as we move into hopes, that is the one hope that I have here, right? I hope to see a re-reveal of Little Devil Inside with like a 2022 release date. I think that would be banger. And that's one of those games where it was announced and showcased at that original PS5 event back in June of 2020, and we haven't heard anything since. And I think part of that is development is hard and they're probably like deep into development into that game and want to focus in. But also when that game was announced, it came under quite a bit of controversy, right? Like I have an article here from IGN that is talking about how shortly after that game's reveal, the developers came out and they apologized about some of the enemy designs that had a very racist appearance, which was one that I remember seeing this trailer and being like, oh, this trailer looks cool. And then rewatching it. And after seeing some people complain about it and going, ah, shit, yeah, some of these enemy designs are really weird. Like Barrett's showing the trailer on screen, right? And just there you saw some of the enemies that have very like blackface-ish kind of appearance to them with the dreadlocks, with the exaggerated like big lips on the characters and like these I forget what the call. They essentially have weapons that look like joints that they hold in their hands. And it did not rub me the right way when I rewatched the trailer and noticed that. But they did do the right thing, which is they came out and they apologized and they promised to change it. And I think with that, it probably is a good move for them to go, cool, let's figure this out. Let's go quiet for a little bit so we can have time to like figure out how to not allow this to happen again. And I think a big part of that is, hey, bring in people that if you're going to if you're going to have certain takes on like characters or enemies that are pulling from like certain cultural inspiration, have people there that are able to speak to that and consult to that, or at least like work in the studio on that in some way that is going to allow for good representation and like a good interpretation on how to do that. And so with that, I think it's been enough time. I think it's time for them to come out and re-reveal the game. And, you know, regardless of that stuff, I think the game looks really cool. I think graphically and art style wise, there's a lot of promise in there. Again, Barrett was showing the trailer earlier, and I was rewatching the trailer before the show, so I can kind of remind myself what Little Devil Inside looked like. And like the art style is really cool. The gameplay they showed was really cool. Like this game looks like it has a lot of promise. And I forget if they had a release date originally, but this is one of the few games from that showcase that hasn't had like a update or hasn't released. You know, when you go back to that original PS5 showcase, I'm trying to pull up a link here that has an actual list. You had the GTA 5 coming to next gen, which is about to release, right? That just got delayed. You had Spider-Man Miles Morales, Gran Turismo 7, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, Project Athia, which is now Forspoken that we've gotten more info about. You had Stray, which we know the release date for, and that's coming out imminently. We had Returnal that's come out, Sackboy, which has come out, Destruction All Stars, which has come out, Kena, which has come out, Goodbye Volcano High, which got delayed into next year, Oddworld, which has come out, Ghostwire Tokyo, which I think we've got maybe one more trailer after that. Maybe not, I forget. But Ghostwire Tokyo is one of the other few ones which I think we're waiting on more info for. And then other games like Jet, Godfall, Solar Ash, Hitman 3, Astro's Playroom, Bugsnax, and the list goes on in terms of games that
play like and I know we're always like looking forward or like pushing on what else we want to see, but just having you read that off, it's kind of shocking how many amazing games have been available on the platform in the last year.
Yeah, it's been a pretty dope year. And from looking at that original PlayStation 5 showcase, so many of these games have been released, and at the very least, for other games, we've gotten info about. Little Devil Inside is like one of maybe 3 games on this list that we've not really gotten an update for, and I think it's time for a game that I assume is slated for next year, right? Like I think it's time for them to have some kind of new trailer with a date on it.
Yeah, I think for Little Devil Inside, that's also one that I'm looking forward to. I think the art style looks like really charming, and overall, like the genre of it sort of being this action adventure. So it kind of hits the same feelings for me as seeing like Kena did, even though they have very different like art styles, and I'm sure they play very differently. But I kind of couch it in that same sort of, or put in that same bucket. I guess my curiosity is how much they may have had to go back and change after sort of the negative reactions they got to some of the depictions of the characters, because I'm not sure how embedded that is into the game and the story. It kind of hearing what happened with Little Devil Inside and like how they reacted to the response, which I also think was a really appropriate reaction to be like, hey, like people are offended by this, and when we reflect on it, we don't have a good answer for it other than to adjust it and apologize for the creative choices we made. And I can't help but think about when Ben Esposito originally made Donut County, it was supposed to be like a Native American based story. And he was like really set on making it. There's a great GDC talk on it, so I encourage people to look that up if they're interested to hear more. But he basically had to redo like just sort of the narrative trappings of the game. Like the mechanics were still pretty much the same, but he sort of, in the process of trying to make a very authentic Native American story, as someone that is not Native American, he sort of realized, what am I doing here? Like, I'm not really listening to the people who I'm consulting with on this. And at the end of the day, even though they have been helpful in getting that information, they're sort of like, it's not really your story to tell. Why don't you tell something that's more, in your realm of what you know and what you've experienced? And that's why it became this sort of like hometown, small town kind of story. If you played Donut County, great game. So I'm curious, I guess, how much maybe they had to go back and rework things, and if that's adding maybe to the development time of it. I'm not really sure. Obviously, if we see it, I think that speaks to, maybe this was like a pretty small fix and they're, moving forward fine. But it's tough to know. And that's something, we may only find out if they end up doing maybe a retrospective kind of thing on it. But as far as my hope, I'm looking forward. I just want that straight release date. That is.
Don't we have it? I thought we had it.
No.
Wait, really?
Not a hard release date, I don't think. If they do, let me know.
I think the last update we got is just that it was going to be 2022.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought that was February. I guess it's good that it's not February. Now I think about it. It's early 2022 is I think the thing.
Yeah, we got a release window trailer. That was the last update we got.
Gotcha.
I just want the date. I just want the date of it so I can know when it is, and I'm really looking forward to that. I think it's going to be really good. Like, I really enjoyed the gameplay that was shown off of it so far. I talk about all the time on the show that I am a huge platformer fan. I'm also a huge fan of cats. I think the environmental design is really charming. I mentioned loving the sort of sim elements of Last of Us and walking around decrepit areas. This is also very much giving me Love, Death, and Robots vibes, which I adore that show. So I just think it looks really cool. I don't really have any, negatives coming off of the bit of gameplay and cinematics they showed, other than I think I saw some light frame rate drops in some of those. I have some questions on how well it'll perform, but the general conceit of sort of wandering around and interacting with these different characters and gaining these different abilities and just kind of exploring and I also am a sucker for any game that makes you a small, cute character in a large environment. I really like when games sort of other a familiar landscape, aka like a cityscape, by making you experience it in a new context. And I feel like this is doing that. So it very much is a game that is checking a lot of boxes for me and what I look for in games and what I tend to enjoy in games. And I know I'm not alone in that, because I think that a lot of the hype around Stray has been, oh my God, exploring. Oh my God, you're a cat. The art looks really cool. It has this sort of cyberpunky look to it. So I would just really, really love a release date for that game. So that's my number one hope. I don't think it's too wild of a hope to have. So I don't know. Hopefully,
yeah, I mean, that game,
hopefully we get it.
In the trailer that Barrow was just showing, right? At the end of the trailer, it does say early 2022. And so if it really is early 2022, we got to get a release date soon. They got to start nailing that down. And so, yeah, I hope we see that too, because that's a game that I think you put it so well that being put in an environment with a new context, I think adds so much to that, right? When you're playing as a cat who has to walk around the streets and all these things, I think as a developer or even as an artist, you have to put more detail into, or you're allowed to explore things with more detail, right? You're allowed to give, as Barrow was showing the trailer, he was the cat was walking through the streets and going through alleyways and hanging out on mattresses and shit, and you give way more context, or at least give more care to the art when things have to be a bit exaggerated or made bigger in a way for the player. And so I think that's a good point. And then also, I'm very much looking forward to the game. Just like Dan, Golden Spider B, who wrote into patreon.com/KindaFunnyGames. They wrote and said, I'm more about that interesting looking cat game Stray that's been pretty quiet since we saw it originally, but always happy to see more surprises. Yeah, I think there's a surprising amount of hype, or at least excitement for Stray, and I think part of that is the game looks cool and unique, and then also in the last showing you have for that game, it reminded me a lot of a Naughty Dog game for some reason. Yep. It had those trappings of that slow, you're I think you mentioned the walking simi elements of Naughty Dog stuff, right? It has kind of that where you're going through the city with a lot of detail, looks really good. Models for characters and the environmental design looks really good, and it kind of has a cinematic approach to it that I think a lot of people dig, and I look forward to it.
Also, you play as a cat. What else do we need?
Yes, exactly. You play the cat. The cat sells a lot of it, but I think it does. Looking at it, I also thought of Naughty Dog when I saw that trailer that Barrett had just pulled up. It's given Daxter vibes a little bit, which I am a huge fan. of all of that stuff. So yeah, I'm just excited for it. I hope it's actually as good as it looks like it's going to be. But I'm ready to be heartbroken if it has to be by this cute cat game. I just want it.
Pulling another from the audience, Dylan Kenny writes in and says, "Hey, Bless and Janet, the biggest third-party mystery I hope to hear about is DokeV, or is it Dokev? I never figured out how to pronounce this one. I'm gonna say DokeV. It's the DOKE and then a capital V at the end. Its Gamescom trailer was a straight shot of serotonin, and I have so many questions I don't know where to begin. Janet, do you remember this one?
Yes, I can't forget because it was the world's longest trailer that gave almost no information. Like, I think, oh man, I'm so intrigued by this one. I actually love that this one was brought up. So thank you for that write-in. Visually, it looks stunning. It's so playful. It looks really fun. The battles are they battles? When this came out, like there's
a lot of action. Yeah.
What the genre was, and they've sort of clarified since, but it's still kind of vague. But it just has this really like striking, again, I don't know how open it is, but like sort of open world design to it, and it looks extremely like playful and fun. It kind of, and I have not played Kingdom Hearts, so I'm not trying to say it literally is like Kingdom Hearts, but in terms of grandiosity of exploration and combat, it reminds me of those Kingdom Hearts 3 trailers. Again, I didn't play that game. I'm not saying it's the same kind of game or same quality of that game. Take that negatively or positively, if you will, if you have that experience. But it does remind me of that, where it looks sort of over the top and playful and extravagant and cool. And again, I'm always a fan of new stuff, so this did intrigue me, but I'm not going to front. Like many people watching this trailer during Gamescom, it was like, all right, what am I looking at here? And also, I'm surprised I'm still looking at it because it just went on for a really long time without giving. Usually when a trailer is this long, there's someone explaining and giving context to what you're seeing. And I think without that context, unfortunately, a good amount of people did tune out. Yeah, look at her like riding a little llama. It looks adorable. I don't know what to say.
But here's the thing. This gives me Biomutant vibes, where like Biomutant was revealed. No, let me explain. Go for
it.
Where Biomutant like got revealed at Gamescom, and it was like, whoa, like this is really exciting, and like there's so many like cool, unique ideas, and it's visually like really interesting and stuff like that. And then we heard nothing from it for like 3 years, and then it finally came out, and it was like, all right, cool. And like I that's the sense I get from this, and like seeing just like how it runs, like watching this video and stuff, because I'd not seen this trailer before whatsoever. Like I could easily see this being like all right, this was a cool announcement. We're not going to hear from this game for like another 3 years. Like that's the vibe, and that's what I mean by like I get Biomutant vibes from this. Of like I don't know if we would see anything from this for anytime soon.
Also, really quick, pulling from Rebecca Valentine's write-up at IGN on this game, it is confirmed open world action adventure. It was originally going to be an MMORPG, but they pivoted to open world action adventure, and it does have multiplayer in it though.
Yeah, so that's the last thing I want to talk about, because you mentioned Biomutant. The vibes I get from this is more Genshin Impact, and I say that in the way that this strikes me as one of those trailers that comes out. Everybody's like, "Oh, this looks very interesting and very, very like ambitious for what it is," and then it goes silent for a little bit, and it comes out, and it's like, oh shit, like this is a game that's gonna pull, I think, a certain audience in, because it does very specific things really good. I'm pulling from their website right now. I'm on their website, and they also here describe it as an open world action adventure. Right, come face to face for the first time with the creatures living among us. DokeV is a creature collecting open world action adventure filled with intriguing stories and set in a unique, vibrant world. Befriend the adorable DokeV that gains strength from and encourage people's dreams, and get ready to embark on an adventure. And one of the things that Jeff Keighley mentioned during opening night live when he was introing this game, I believe he compared it to something like Pokemon, which lines up with the creature collecting aspects of it. And this is also another game coming out of I forget if it's Korea. It's coming out of a country that has had like kind of a booming a booming like ecosystem in terms of games and games developers and folks coming out and creating ambitious stuff. And with all that, like, I'm tempering my expectations, because you mentioned before, Janet, that this game has ridiculous visuals to it, and the graphics for this game also almost look too good to be true, in terms of how polished everything looks, in terms of how nice everything looks, and then the art style is at the same time very exaggerated. This game just has a look that stands out a lot, which I think is one of the main things that has captured people. That said, I'm very excited for this thing to come out and see how people actually react to it, because this very much strikes me as we're going to get a very specific audience for this game. And it reminds me of something like Genshin Impact, which also has a very specific audience, but that audience absolutely loves and adores that game and plays that game for hours on end. And also with the MMO thing, right? Like Genshin is a game that I think so many people assume is MMO adjacent and has like vast multiplayer, and doesn't necessarily. It is a single player co-op multiplayer, if you want to play it that way, kind of game. And the setup that they're kind of talking about here with that for Dokev reminds me of that as well. And so I wouldn't be surprised if there are more similarities, if not than not, for something like Genshin with this thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope we see it too. I doubt we'll see it at the state of play, but I hope we do, because I have so many questions about this one.
Also, something about it just felt so flash, and I guess, like, to Barrett, your point earlier, where it does kind of feel like this is going to be something that is going to be a bit dragged out. Like, I didn't see it at Gamescom and think, this is right around the corner. Like, I don't really know what it is. Maybe it's the ambition, maybe it's the scope, maybe it's because they haven't gotten the messaging down, but I didn't even think to mention this, so, I'm glad Dylan brought it up. But on that note, I would be pretty shocked if we saw it.
Janet, actually, I guess I'll go, because we only have our dreams left. And I'll go first, because I think I started this whole thing off. Actually, no, you started this whole thing off. But I'll go first anyway.
Sure.
my dream showing for the state of play would be Pragmata from Capcom. Because earlier I was talking about that PlayStation future of the PS5 showcase and the stuff that we haven't gotten updates for. One of the very few things that we haven't gotten updates for is Pragmata. And that game looked really interesting in that original showcase. As a reminder for folks, that is the game that's from Capcom. The trailer showed off this character in a spacesuit. They had like on this futuristic astronaut suit.
Weirdly looks like the Kojima spacesuit, man.
Yeah, like the Ludens guy that Kojima keeps pimping out. Yeah, like when they first revealed this, I think so many of us thought, oh, is this Kojima? Oh, is this some Death Stranding 2 shit? What is this? But like Capcom describes this as a like one of their big upcoming action games they have coming up. When I go to the PlayStation page for it, right? Like, its release date is set for 2022. And so it's not super far off. Or at the very least, it's not announced like it's super far off. And so I think it's reasonable to expect more info on this game soon. But then also in their game overview on the PlayStation website, they say travel to a dystopian near future and explore a unique lunar world coming to PS5 consoles. Lose yourself in a brand new sci-fi action adventure game from Capcom, the creators of Resident Evil and Devil May Cry. Pragmata will present players with a profound story and setting as cutting-edge visuals take full advantage of next-generation platform features, all made possible by the power of the PlayStation 5 console. And I really want to know what that's about. Especially when you announce a new game, talking about like the power of the PS5, the power of the new consoles, that strikes me as okay, this game is going to come out in the first couple of years, because I think that is the kind of marketing that goes along with a game that's coming out in the first couple of years. When I look at the Capcom website, they also have their own write-up from June of 2020, where they announced it for 2022. They said, set in a dystopian near future on Earth's moon, Pragmata will take you on an unforgettable adventure, again, powered by the next generation of gaming. Our development team is hard at work on this brand new game title, making full use of new next-gen tech, such as ray tracing, to create a breathtaking and immersive sci-fi setting like never before. We're very eager to show more, but that's all we have for now. We'll be sharing additional information on Pragmata in 2021. And that's what I want to focus on. That's what I want to focus in on. It is 2021, and we've not gotten new information yet on Pragmata. Where is it? Janet, where is it?
It's at the PlayStation Showcase this Wednesday. I have no idea. But I think that's a really good dream, in the sense that I think there's a bit of hope and prediction in it, because that could absolutely be there, or it could absolutely not. It could really go either way. It is very much a coin toss. But Pragmata is definitely one of those games where I will keep predicting it until we see it, because it really could show up again at any time. And I think a lot of people are curious about it. I think there's plenty of more information to be shown. I know chat's mentioning, like, if not here, Game Awards. I think Game Awards gets a little bit over predicted for like how much, like, Game Awards is like an award showcase, and like also like a lot of advertising. Like, there are things that crop up, but I don't think you can just put all your hopes and dreams into that one.
To be fair,
award show.
Jeff Keighley's proven he's got the stuff. I expect way more out of a Jeff Keighley thing than a state of play at this point.
Slight to Jeff Keighley when I'm saying this, because it's not like, oh, he's not, you know, the point of the award show is the awards. I think when Jeff Keighley does his, oh God, what is it called? Summer Games Fest?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Like that is definitely more of a testament, you know, again, no offense because it's hard work, of what Jeff can pull and maybe can't pull, and sort of, you know, setting the tone for what showcases he runs will look like going forward. I think that's totally fair to criticize and predict and judge. But I think Game Awards, like, if you get anything, like, that's more than that's kind of more than I go in expecting personally. And I know we've gotten some cool things from Game Awards, but I think a lot of people were just like, if it's not here, it's all going to be at Game Awards. And I just don't think that is super realistic to say. Again, it could be there, could not. But I don't look at that as like winter E3 the way I feel like some of the conversation.
Oh, it is. It's my winter E3. Damn it! I get hyped for the Game Awards. I think the Game Awards.
It's like, I love watching it. I love like trying to get, you know, like seeing what happens. Like, I'm very invested in the Game Awards. Like, it's one of my favorite things of the year. But I don't go in like I'm about to be blown away by like some new game. Like maybe I'll see like one or two things, but that's it.
Mm-hmm. Janet, what is your dream?
Okay, my dream's really dumb, so try not to laugh, y'all who are listening at home. My dream, and the dream was, for context, it was something that's unlikely, but would be a dream announcement. So I took that unlikely thing to heart, and I went Sunset Overdrive for PS5, which, for context, it's a mess. Insomniac does own and Sony owns the IP for Sunset Overdrive, but Microsoft has the publishing rights, so I don't, you know, it's kind of with that weird thing where Insomniac's under Sony, but Microsoft would be publishing it, I guess, if that ever happened. But yeah, that would be my dream thing. It's like such a amazing game that I would love to play on PlayStation. I think it'd be so cool if that had like little PS5 upgrades and updates. For those who, you know, may have missed it, it's an action adventure shooter. It's very parkour. It very much, if you've enjoyed the traversal in the Spider-Man games, you will very much enjoy this. It's over the top. I think the art style is fantastic because it ages so well, because it's a little bit cartoony. This game's actually like getting quite old at this point. We're a few years away from it being 10 years old. It came out in 2014. And I adore this game. I don't know anyone that played it and didn't like it. It's just a crazy amount of fun, and I would love it on the PlayStation platform.
I am somebody who did start it and just I never played that much of it, but that was because I didn't like it. I was just bored.
I didn't enjoy it. Why? I'm so surprised.
If it came out to PlayStation, I think I would try it again and probably play through it. I think it was just one of those ones where I started it just because everybody was talking about it, and then I was like, I don't know, it seems cool, but it's not my. It's so hard when it's a new IP that you already just don't have investment in, right? Like when I hear Insomniac is working on a Spider-Man, I'm like, cool, I'm for sure gonna play that, or Wolverine, or Ratchet, something that I've played multiple games of. I'm like, cool, yeah, no, that's for me. Sunset Overdrive, I'm coming in and I'm like, I don't know who this guy is. Who I don't care about this soda drink that turns people into zombies.
Who's the generic man who looks like the default character in Tony Hawk that you play as?
To be fair, you do create your character in Sunset, if I remember correctly, right? And so he is generic, but even so, like I'm still I don't know, man. There was nothing else pulling me in immediately that made me want to continue.
You know, everyone has different tastes, so like that is what it is. But I just find the traversal, and maybe in a post Spider-Man world that doesn't hit quite in the same way as it did at the time. But even now I still find that traversal super fun. I think the weapons are really charming. Like I feel like it has the thing about Sunset Overdrive that I think would be so exciting is it has, well, in part because it's a freaking Insomniac game, but it has so much of the DNA of what I think is charming about other PlayStation IPs. Like if you think of the traversal of Spider-Man, but the goofy weapons of like Ratchet and Clank with like a little bit of the bodiness of like the earlier Ratchet and Clank, like name titles and things like that. I feel like it leans into so many of those things in such a wonderful combination that I really find that game super enjoyable, and that would be really exciting. And I think it'd be like an absolutely wild announcement. I also don't think it will happen because it's a little bit of like an awkward limbo-y game. But yeah, that's something that I would be really excited to see. That's my dream. That's what lives in my dream.
Honestly, like you're very doubtful, but I believe in your dream more than your prediction. Like I think there's a bigger chance that we get a Sunset Overdrive thing.
To my dream or an insult to the prediction? That's the question, Blessing. I don't know.
I mean, I think it's a compliment to you thinking outside the box. I look at Sunset Overdrive coming to PS5, and I could see us getting info on that earlier than we get like a Final Fantasy 16 thing at this PlayStation State of Play. But I also don't think either of them fit well for Oh, you got the physical version of Sunset Overdrive right there, just on deck.
I have physical media. I don't have a lot of it. I don't have as much as I'd like, but yeah, boom, Sunset Overdrive. It has the day one Xbox little emblem on there. But yeah,
I think
it could be blue or like black or white. Actually, okay, I don't have any PS5 games that are physical. I admit it. You already know this to be true, but
I think if PlayStation were to break we're focusing on third-party games thing for any kind of announcement, it would be the type of announcement that is Sunset Overdrive is remastered for PS5. I think it's that level of announcement.
It'd be like a small first-party vibe if they dip into first-party. Or again,
I could see it being like the thing that closes it out, because I think there are enough people like Janet who really dig the Sunset Overdrive IP. I think there's enough people like out there who are interested in it because they are people who stuck with PlayStation and have played the Spider-Man games and really like it and heard a lot about Sunset Overdrive. And then we've had the stories throughout the last couple of years of like what's going on with the IP since PlayStation owns Insomniac, so on and so forth. So I for this, what we're expecting this level of state of play to be later this week, I could see this being like the one more thing kind of situation. Whether or not I think it's actually going to happen, I think is a different conversation. But I could like see it happening at this level of a state of play.
State of play.
Yeah.
None of this has this announcement. It just probably isn't the one we're living in.
I want to pull in a couple of more from the audience, the last two from the audience, starting with Bruce, the genetic jackhammer rando, who writes in and says, "Hey, y'all, my prediction is it'll be underwhelming. My hope is that Konami reveals something big, and my dream is a Castlevania Soulsborne reveal. Keep killing it, Blanet." And I got my last write in here from the homie, Emmett Watkins Jr., who writes in and says, "We're getting one or two indies, maybe the next game from Pixel Opus or something small like that. Then we'll get another remaster/remake/PC port slated for late 2022, something mid-tier like Medieval. Then it'll end with a trailer for something late 2022, early 2023, but it's gonna be big. I'm thinking either Last of Us Factions, San Diego Studios' non-MLB game, or London Studios' new non-VR game. But as always, I pray for PlayStation All-Stars 2, or at least The Last of Us Factions if I'm being realistic."
If you're being realistic, Last of Us Factions. Okay.
Emmett Watkins Jr., okay. I need you to take a step back, all right, and just reread that blog post because you're not getting any of that stuff that you mentioned, Emmett. But I do appreciate the big ambitions here.
The write-in would be like a banger showcase, even. I feel like. I mean, maybe it needs like maybe one.
Yeah,
more.
Emmett just wrote in about next year's PlayStation Studios showcase.
Boom, Concrete Genie also have this physical as well.
I didn't even know it had a physical version.
I think it was very like limited. I like ended up like getting it like during my time at IGN. Like I don't know what the retail look of this was like how common that was, but it might have gotten away after the fact. But yeah, like I mean, something from Pixel Opus. Hold on one second. Excuse me. Something from Pixel Opus. I think again, if we're thinking smaller first party vibes being a possibility here, I think that could fit that bill. I also think there's always like a light possibility of like because it had like a VR mode. So like I always wonder like will we see any nods to VR in this? Like when I was first writing this down and I could see Blessing in the doc and I'm like, don't read this, Blessing. I don't know if you read that message I put telling you not to read the stuff I was drafting.
No, I missed all that.
Yeah, I saw you in there and I was like trying to think of like what are my hopes and dreams and stuff. And then I was like, nah, this dream's whack. And I'm like, oh God, I hope Blessing's not reading my whack dream. My whack dream that didn't make the show was like some PSVR, like third-party stuff, and then an acknowledgement of when we're going to see that showcase, because that's really what I'm looking forward to on that front. So I think for first party, I could see like maybe because it's small enough, which no shade of Pixel Opus, but I just feel like it's not necessarily something that they need to hold for a showcase. But yeah, all the other stuff that would be like that would be a Nintendo move where it's like, oh, we lied about what we're showing here. It's secretly the biggest thing of the year.
Yeah, I would not expect to see anything Pixel Opus. Like I think that's still for them, for PlayStation Studios, is a new game reveal for a company that is a first party company. And if you're gonna do a PSVR 2 showcase, I think you save if they're working on a VR game, you save it for that. Or if they're working on just a non VR game, you also save it for, I think, a proper state of play or even a PlayStation showcase, or you just drop it in a blog post. I think you try to give it its own like special thing, or like, turn it into a main event. I think PlayStation would want to treat Pixel Opus's next game as something even bigger than Concrete Genie. I think PlayStation Studios is trying to scope up in terms of how they view their own studios and all these things. And so I don't know. We'll see though. We shall see. But for now, Janet, Speaking of things that are super exciting that we're all looking forward to, let me tell you why you should look forward to subscribing to patreon.com/KindaFunny. I'm like a bad salesperson right now, right? I'm trying to hype up.
You're like me
Patreon
6 years ago trying to sell shoes to people at Vans, you know.
This is me. Yeah. This is me in 2015 when I was selling DirecTV in Sam's Club, and I was doing a bad job of it. You go to Yeah, I sold DirecTV. It was the worst because at that point, like, nobody who's trying to buy cable in 2015. Everybody's trying to cut the. I digress. Patreon.com/KindaFunny where you can go to get the show ad free. And speaking of ads, let us tell you about our sponsors.
This episode is brought to you by Purple Mattress. Everyone is obsessed with sleep these days because no one is getting it. But you know what really helps get a good night's sleep? A Purple mattress, baby. Only Purple has the Gel Flex Grid. It's a super stretchy, ultra squishy material that adapts around pressure points and doesn't trap heat. And I can attest to that. I overheat very easily. I run hot, and I absolutely love my Purple mattress and my Purple pillow that also has this technology, and it just never gets hot. You can try Purple mattress risk-free with shipping and returns. There's even financing available, so you got a ton of options to get better sleep now. Getting a great night's sleep starts with having a great mattress. Get a Purple mattress. Go to purple.com/KindaFunny10 and use code KindaFunny10. For a limited time, you can get 10% off any orders of $200 or more. That's purple.com/KindaFunny10, code KindaFunny10 for 10% off any order of $200 or more. Purple.com/KindaFunny10, promo code KindaFunny10. Terms apply. Next up, shout out to ExpressVPN, always keeping me and my internet safe. Going online without a VPN is like carrying an expensive smartphone without a protective case. You're probably fine most of the time, but one slip and everything gets cracked open. And it doesn't even take that much knowledge to hack somebody. I'm sure Kevin could do it if he really wanted to. They just need some cheap hardware. A smart 12-year-old can do it. That's funny. Don't get owned by a 12-year-old. Thank you for that copy, ExpressVPN. Get ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN routes you through a secure encrypted tunnel that disguises your IP address. It takes a hacker with a supercomputer 1 billion years to get past ExpressVPN's encryption. And ExpressVPN is really easy to use. You just open the app, you click a button, and you're protected. I can attest to that. I use it every day, and I am safe. Secure your online data today by visiting expressvpn.com/KindaFunny. That's expressvpn.com/KindaFunny, and you can get an extra 3 months free. expressvpn.com/KindaFunny. And finally, shout out to DraftKings, the killer crossovers, the nothing but net jumpers, the tenacious throwdowns. Ladies and gentlemen, basketball is back. DraftKings, the leader in daily fantasy sports, is celebrating the return to the hardwood by giving new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. That is a lot of prizes, everyone. You can score big, and that can score you big cash. With a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes, it's the perfect time to show off your basketball IQ. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. You can download the DraftKings app now and use promo code KindaFunny. This week, new customers can get a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes. You just got to enter the promo code KindaFunny to get a free shot at millions in total prizes with your first deposit. That's code KindaFunny, KINDAFUNNY. Only at DraftKings. There's a minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply, but you can see DraftKings.com for all of those details.
Janet, hit me with those PlayStation updates.
Yeah, let's start with Guerrilla giving us a closer look at Horizon Forbidden West's new abilities from that PlayStation blog. Also pulling in from, is it Nibel on Twitter? I never remember how to pronounce. I only read it.
I say Nibel, yeah. But like I think his full name is Nibelian, but I just say Nibel.
Okay. Breaking out some of the like bigger highlights, including full DualSense support throughout each mechanic, 12 Valor Surge attacks, super with each having 3 levels. Machines and enemies can fight in groups, plenty of new weapons, plus some returning ones, and Aloy jumping, wall jumping now. In the gameplay trailer, you'll have seen Aloy using a variety of new tools in the Forbidden West. Building upon the foundation of Horizon Zero Dawn, we have added a number of new ways to move through the world, says David McMullen, lead systems designer at Guerrilla. Aloy can freely climb on and across huge sections of rocky terrain. Even more machine types can be used as mounts. Grapple points can be found throughout the environment, which allows agile vertical traversal. Swimming underwater has opened up A whole new aspect of exploration and gliding with the shield wing provides the ultimate view of the beautiful world of Horizon Forbidden West, not to mention a quick way down from great heights. Guerrilla's lead combat designer, Dennis Zofi, shares how the team expanded its key features in Horizon Forbidden West. One of the focus points that influenced all our combat decisions was increased player choice. And we applied this to everything: melee, weapons, outfits, skills, and other new mechanics. We want to give players more tools, depth, and dials to play with. There's a number of other subtle yet impactful additions that enable more dynamic gameplay, summarizes David. Just to name a few, the wall jump, leaping away from a climb surface, high vault, and more. While these might sound like small things, combined they make for engaging environmental challenges and more player options. Dennis attests to that. We put a lot of effort into creating more choice and depth for the players and are super excited to see how people will play as Aloy with so many new possibilities of skills, weapons, and gear she can obtain throughout the mysterious Forbidden West. We had a lot of fun creating cool and powerful combinations for players to discover, and we hope people will enjoy the game when it launches. Blessing, anything from this stand out to you as a new feature, a new addition, or a new utilization of like even the controller that you're most looking forward to for this new game?
All of this sounds amazing. Horizon Zero Dawn is a game that, you know, I really enjoyed, had a really good time with. But as I was playing it, there are so many places where, as a big open world game, I could see them improving, just very small, just quality of life stuff, right? Like things like movement, things like climbing, things like, you know, how your options in combat. And one of the things here that they mentioned was just giving the player so many more choices in terms of you know, your possibilities of skills and the weapons and gear that you can use. Stuff like that gets me excited, because one of my favorite things about Horizon Zero Dawn were the new weapons that you would obtain. I remember using I forget exactly what it's called, but it's like a grenade barrage weapon, like a grenade lobber, I think. And I remember having such a good time with that after not really loving how chip damagey the bow and arrow, the default bow and arrow felt. Getting the new weapons just felt so cool and made that game really feel like I am strategically taking down these big mechanical dinosaur creatures in ways that I kind of had to think about, right? Like, where's the weak spot? How do I feel like I'm monster hunting right now, right? Like that is the kind of thing that I think Horizon Zero Dawn does really well, and that Horizon Forbidden West, given all these things they're talking about here, I think is only going to do infinitely better, especially when they talk about things like how they've improved melee and more dynamic gameplay, and saying things as simple as wall jump and like climbing surfaces has me excited, because like many of us, right? Like we Horizon Zero Dawn came out that same week, or I guess like a week before Zelda Breath of the Wild, and it's impossible not to make that comparison in your head. And you know, I think with that, there are things that go both ways in terms of things that I got, or things that I had while playing Horizon Zero Dawn that I wish it did better because I had also played Breath of the Wild, and then vice versa, of like playing Breath of the Wild and wishing that it had X, Y, and Z thing that Horizon did that could have made that game better as well. And one of the things that I loved in Breath of the Wild was the climbing and was the traversal and was feeling this feeling of being able to traverse the land in a way that felt super cool because I had these different abilities to do so. Seeing the glider and seeing seeing the words they're using, like wall jump, and seeing the stuff that they showed in that gameplay trailer back in June of the different ways you can climb up surfaces in the environment has me super excited for this game. And so yeah, this is all good news. And one of the things, Janet, that I want to bring up, because I learned this about you recently, because this episode, a peek behind the curtain, this episode for PS Love You, the topic of the show was going to be what can Horizon Forbidden West improve from Horizon Zero Dawn. But then I hit you up just to make sure, hey, Janet, have you played Horizon Zero Dawn? And the thing I learned is that you've not played Horizon Zero Dawn, Janet.
Yes, this is a true fact. And it was funny because, and actually, for even more transparency, you were like, oh, how much did you like Horizon Zero Dawn? And I'm like, I did not play Horizon Zero Dawn because I was one of the people that was like, look, it's this and Breath of the Wild. I'm gonna hit this Breath of the Wild. And then I just never came back. And oh, God, what year was that? Was that 2017?
Like everybody else, Janet, you know.
Hey, you're on. Not everybody else. This is a PlayStation podcast. I'm sure most people listening probably didn't do that.
Nah, there were a bunch of nerds. You bunch of nerds who played Horizon instead of Zelda.
What is it? How do I phrase this? I think there is definitely a degree to which, you know, being good at this job involves being good at the skill set of this job. But definitely, you know, you want that game background as well. And I have like two last gaps to fill that I wasn't able. Here's the thing, because I've been doing this since I did this full time starting summer of 2018. So I think during when Horizon came out as well, it's like I was like in the midst of, I think I was teaching at the time or like working at GameStop or something. Like, look, a lot was
you don't have to make excuses. You don't have to play everything.
It's just, it's just one of those things. And here's the thing, like, for me, when I have those gaps that I miss, I sort of wait till like be demanded to be pulled back in, because like the other thing too is you got to keep up with what's coming out. So it's like, okay, I have an opinion on, but I've touched basically everything that came out this year as much as I possibly could. So it's like, I'm going to fit in Horizon when 2 is coming out and around the corner, which we were now at that time.
Yeah, which is why I'm excited. That's why I bring it up. I bring it up not to shame you, Janet. I bring it up because I'm excited, because this means that we can do a Janet plays Horizon Zero Dawn and get all the impressions fresh as we go into Horizon Forbidden West. I think this is perfect.
Only if we do a Days Gone episode.
No, absolutely. Stop reminding people.
Part of it might be, and this might be like the mean side of my experience with like many games that I've gone through, whether they're for work or whatever, or just to say that I was able to see it through and have a full perspective on it. Because I think there is value on rolling credits even when you're not in love with something, like as far as the skill set of, again, building more knowledge of this job. I think part of me does want you to suffer a little bit. And I don't mean that like I don't like you, Blessing. Like, I think you're a great person, but like I feel like you got to go through something here with Days Gone. Like everyone else, it's a moment. It's a moment in time. I feel
Janet,
like
here's the thing. Here's my thing. I'm a firm believer in you don't have to play everything. And like even for me as a PlayStation podcast host, I do not feel the need to play Days Gone. And like I think part of this feeling has kind of come and gone, because when I first joined PS Love You, one of the things I talked about that I ended up doing was, hey, I do want to play some of the greatest hits. I do want to make sure that the few PlayStation games, the big ones that I've missed, like a Bloodborne, I had also gone back and finished Horizon Zero Dawn, because I played about half of it before I fell off to start playing Breath of the Wild, like that. And then other things I had listed were things like Days Gone, and then what's the game that came out with the werewolves and it was super short and people were mad at? Order 1886.
Yeah, I feel like that's fine to have missed.
That was one
game, but
that was one that I had missed, and I was like, okay, yeah, like those 4 games I want to make sure I get to. And to my credit, I had gone through and I'd beaten Bloodborne, and I loved it, right? It's one of my favorite games now. I had gone back and I finished Horizon Zero Dawn and really enjoyed it. I had I didn't touch Order 1886, just mainly because I think I went to download it and I was just like, why am I doing this? I don't need to do this. Like, who fucking cares if I don't play Order?
Who is this for? And is it just for my own ego to say that I did it? Like,
exactly.
Anybody in my but you should. Okay, what sucks too though is you don't really have an incentive to do Days Gone. Kind of, that's where I landed with like Horizon, where I'm like, I'm gonna wait until this continues and then it becomes relevant again, and then I'll go back and hit up that game. But we know there's no Days Gone 2. So like you really don't have to play Days Gone. So I'll give you that. It's not really gonna benefit.
What does the world benefit? Even if I'm talking
that played it because they're like, I'm playing this because I want to hear what Blessing thinks, and they like never got to hear what you thought.
I'll say I played the first about 2 or so hours of Days Gone, and I was not having a good time. If people want to know my thoughts, I was like, this is boring, man. I don't care about any of this. If I wanted to play this game, if I want to play this type of game, I'll just play Last of Us. That's my thought about Days Gone.
So I'm not saying that means you should play Days Gone, but I do think they're like pretty distinctive in how they feel. Like, I don't think if you like one, you'll like the other inherently, or vice
for sure.
versa.
But also, if I wanted to play an open world game, I'll then play Horizon or Ghost of Tsushima. That's my thing is Days Gone is a combination of mechanics and setting of things that I could just get elsewhere.
Hold on though, Keegan Hill in the chat says, but boozer, and I think that's the best argument that I've heard for this game. Yeah, booze, man. Like now, like I can't hang up on you and say deacon out before I hang up. You won't know what I'm talking about. That's the thing. We don't have that shared experience.
I think I'll figure it out. I think I'll figure out what you mean by deacon out.
Honestly, I feel like you're not ever gonna give, so I kind of giving up my Days Gone campaign. And we can just move on to Horizon and whatever. Did you guys actually do one for Horizon at the time? Was that like relevant at the time?
No, I think I just felt the need to play it, and so like I gave my impressions on like our what you've been playing section, but we didn't do an episode. And
I played this then Horizon, and people who played it already can run it back, and people that I do know some community members who have like reached out to me like on Twitch, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm playing it, like getting ready for it. I think that could be a cool thing.
Hell yeah. So let's do it. The reason I bring it up is because I did want to bring the message to the listeners of, hey, I think we're gonna play Horizon Zero Dawn. At least Janet's gonna play Horizon Zero Dawn. I've never played the Horizon Zero Dawn. Fuck, what the Frozen Lands? Is it the Frozen Lands, Barrett? The DLC.
So it's Forbidden Wilds.
Frozen Tundra.
Frozen. Ooh.
I'm looking it up right now.
Frozen.
The Frozen Wilds. It's the Frozen Wilds.
Okay.
Horizon Zero Dawn, the Frozen Wilds. I never played the Frozen Wilds DLC.
Forbidden West. That's what. Okay, so it's Horizon
Forbidden
Zero
West is the
Dawn,
second game.
and then Frozen Wilds, and then
Yes.
Forbidden West. God.
So-
See, that's the other problem. So I'm just saying, Horizon, good title. The subtitles that they give each of these. Ain't doing it for me. Ain't doing it.
Hey, I'm following along. It's not going to be until they announce the third game in the franchise to where I'm going to be like, finally, like, all right, this is too much. I cannot keep these straight in my head. These are too many words. But I'm thinking Janet plays through Horizon Zero Dawn. I finally play the Frozen Wilds, and we do some kind of both a Horizon Janet's review and also a, Horizon Forbidden West. What do our expectations, right? How excited are we for Horizon Forbidden West? I think that's what we do when we make it a hashtag PS we played this.
What is the schedule of this? Like, I'm thinking 2 weeks is an appropriate time for that. Like, I think 4
Are you
would
starting
be...
from scratch?
I'm starting from scratch. But I
You might want to give yourself more time.
I might want to, so I'm down to give myself more time, but also, like,
We can figure it out at the beginning of the year. We got a few months to figure it out.
This is what I'll say. I'm going to say
I think
December.
I think 2 weeks is like minimum. Like 2 to 4 weeks, I think is appropriate.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna say December just to give you enough time. In December, I don't think we're gonna have like crazy amounts of like things to talk about.
I'm gonna do that. Here's what I'm scared of, because I'm like historically really bad at like I'll have like a nice deadline for a change, and I'm like, great, get to this later. So okay, I'm gonna do it. You should hear me saying for PS I played this for what you've been playing. Horizon should get in that rotation soon.
Okay.
Remind
We'll keep you honest. We'll keep you accountable. But December loosely, and then January. It's also going to depend on what's the news of the week and all this stuff. I want to make sure we do it during a time where there's not something else that's important and big that we got to talk about, so we're not like losing an episode.
I'm trying to take my break. I'm trying to have a vacation. I'm trying to sit. I'm trying to watch TV.
Oh, we ain't working during the break. We
trying to finally finish Sackboy. You know how hard it is to play Sackboy with 3 other adults? For everyone to be down and in the mood to play this, like...
I know how hard it is for one other adult to play It Takes Two, so I can't imagine.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Janet, what's the next... I'll go for it.
Yeah, before... literally same. Before we move on, I do want to ask one quick thing, real fast. Got reactions to both of y'all. Will I like Horizon?
No.
You're unpredictable, so I don't know.
I'm gonna go with no.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with yes.
Here's the thing. If you're gonna go through it, I'm gonna re-download it as well. I'm gonna give it another shot. I'm gonna give it another shot. I got 10 hours into that game, and it was before I even got a Switch, and it was just like, yeah, I'm not feeling it.
I can see you coming around, Barrett, because I in the first 10 hours that I played, when I originally played it, I wasn't feeling it also. And part of it was the playing it in 2017, where there were a billion 10 out of 10 games that came out that year. But I think also once you get into it and start unlocking things, it's like it's a little bit like Metroid, where Metroid Dread I started to love in that second half once I had all the abilities. I think Horizon, once you're later in and you have the different abilities and you start like you're deep into the flow of it, I think that's where that game shines.
I do think it's a prime time to give it another shot too, because like looking at the rest of the year, I'm not really jonesing for anything coming out in like the next couple months, so I think it'll be a good time to actually check it out rather than a week before Breath of the Wild.
Shannon, you were shaking your head. What's up?
I was just like, when you mentioned Metroid, I just got like PTSD. I went back to a dark place. Like that game really, really affected me in a negative way, where I'm like, I'm trying not to play anything. I'm trying to relax because it was too stressful. So you said yes, right? That I'll like it. Blessing. That's your verdict.
I think at first you won't like it, but I think you'll come around and end up liking it in the end.
Folks, let me know on Twitter in the comments if you think I'll like this game. And then it doesn't really matter if you're right or wrong, but I just think it's fun to play this game.
Here's the thing. I think you'll like the story.
Okay.
I think the gameplay you'll be on the middle of. I think there will be some things that annoy you, but you'll see the vision and you'll be like, okay, no, I see where this is going and there's enough here that I like. That's my prediction.
I'm excited. I'm excited to finally check it out. God of War 2018 is coming to PSP. This comes from Grace.
PC.
Oh, sorry, PSP. Well, I guess it's PSP. Oh my god,
You said PSP.
That would be God of War is already on PSP, and it's Chains of Olympus, and most people didn't like it, but I thought it was pretty good. God of War is coming to PC. This comes from Grace Orlady at PlayStation Blog, saying, we're thrilled to announce that God of War 2018 will be coming to PC on January 14th, 2022. And then it reads, August 2021, as of August 2021, 19.5 million copies of God of War on PlayStation 4 have been sold through, and we can't wait to share that experience with a whole new group of players on PC. Our PC version includes a wide range of graphical presets and options so you can fine-tune your visual experience based on your setup, from higher resolution shadows and improved screen space reflections to enhancements to the ambient occlusion pipeline with GTAO and SSDO. God of War on the PC can create striking visual quality unique to the platform. I like how later in this blog post they also mention like you can have like the ultimate reaction time to this. I'm like, I'm still gonna miss the attacks. But Blessing, what's your read on this? Are you excited for this to hit PC? And what's the next PlayStation game you want to see hit PC?
Ooh, I like that question. To answer the last question, the answer there is Bloodborne. In terms of my reaction to this news, I think this is awesome. Shout outs to that. And I've been thinking for a while that I want to go back and play God of War. Partly because when I first played God of War 2018, I like many people, I binged that game because I was all about it. I absolutely loved that game. But I played it in a week and haven't touched it since then. And I think that's such a disservice to do to such a, I think, masterful game, is to play it and then immediately not touch it and then over time just forget about it. People ask me details about God of War 2018. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember the big moments, but like I can't remember like the moment to moment of that game because I played it in such a short time on such a binge. And so I've been looking for an excuse to go back and play it. And this might be my excuse. I'm not much of a PC gamer, but I have pre-ordered, quote unquote pre-ordered, because I don't think you can actually pre-order it yet. I just have it reserved, the Steam Deck. And I'm thinking about being I'm thinking about being in the covers.
PSP is playing it on the Steam Deck.
Yeah, exactly. The second best thing. I'm thinking about being curled up in my covers in my bed with the Steam Deck in my hand and having God of War 2018 right in front of me. That's what I'm thinking about, and so I can't wait for this.
That is a pretty cool setup. I feel like you could before that only get that through breaking a Switch and then hacking it to somehow make it play PlayStation games, which I totally have not looked into at all. Would never do that against the law. For me, yeah, I think this is great. I mean, obviously, more games to more people is pretty much always better. I will say, too, as far as like the exclusive conversation, I think this still totally retains, that vibe from PlayStation. Obviously, things can definitely change in the future, but as of now, one, this isn't like a day and date thing on PC, and two, I'm of the mind that for me, when I care about exclusives on consoles, I'm talking about the console version of the game. I don't really care if everything's on PC. Because for me, I'm a console player primarily, be it PlayStation or any of the other ones. So for me, I'm always going to lean on console. It is the inferior version of it, and I don't really care. I just like having my consoles. I like playing on consoles. So I personally never feel some type of way if an exclusive is on PC as well, because I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of like a whole different setup. It kind of runs.
It excites me, dude. I'm like, cool. Like more people get to play this game. I think that's what ultimately where I come from.
I think it's so smart the way they're doing it currently, because to me, I feel like we're getting the best of both worlds. If you're someone who's like really gun ho about, I want to feel like I'm getting, an exclusive experience on my PlayStation. Like that's what I love PlayStation for. You still very much have that because we don't know what other games are coming to PC. We don't know when other games are coming to PC. If you want to play the next Horizon game, that's PlayStation 5. Do I think that it'll eventually come to PC? I'm going to say yes at this point. When will it? And am I going to wait for it? No. Like I'm, like everybody else, like I'm going to play that when it's coming out. Or, sometime in that window generally. So, yeah, I think this kind of, I don't really see any negatives here personally with the current system. Again, things might change and things might evolve, but I think it's smart to sort of appeal to a wider audience and try to get people excited about PlayStation and maybe want to check out and get a PlayStation who otherwise may not. The way I see it, if you're a pure PC player and you were never going to come to PlayStation, you weren't going to show up here anyway. And the best case scenario is maybe you're like, hey, I am kind of into these games that I've been playing, these PlayStation games on PC. Let me dip into the PlayStation ecosystem, and then we just have more people here. So I feel like it's a win-win.
And also shout out to the 19.5 million copies number. That is a really impressive number. And I do such a bad job of keeping up with like the end of day numbers for a lot of the PlayStation games. Usually when I look into the numbers for those, I look into like the first 3 weeks, is that they do a good job of reporting those, but they don't often report like numbers like years afterwards, at least like as consistently as they do those first week sales. And so I'm so used to talking about like the 3 millions, the 4 millions in 3 weeks, and all these things. It's nice to see like, oh yeah, years after now we have that, close to 20 million copies sold, which is very impressive, especially coming off of that talk that we had a few weeks ago about how Jim Ryan wants the PlayStation games to sell even more, right? Hundreds of millions and all these things. And, you take that, compare it to Nintendo numbers. And I forget if we had this conversation or if this is a conversation I had in my head of like why Nintendo sales numbers for their games hit like Animal Crossing over 30 million and shit like that. But it's nice to see that PlayStation, at the very least, for one of their biggest titles, is able to hit that 20 million mark. And it makes me wonder like how they're going to be able to push past that. And I think PC is a big part of that answer, allowing more people to get their hands on this thing for the first time. And so maybe we'll see God of War hit over 30 million and hit maybe 40 million in like, I guess 7 years from now. We'll see.
Yeah,
it's gonna take a while.
I think too, like your Bloodborne comment is like a really classic one that a lot of people have been asking for, like just some form of more Bloodborne.
I need that game in more frame rate. It is a crime. Now that I've played Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice on PS5, that game on PS5 is such a dream to play. And the fact that Bloodborne doesn't have as smooth a frame rate breaks my heart, because I would love to go back to it in 60 frames per second.
You haven't finished Demon's Souls because it's so slow compared to all the other ones that you've played?
Slow in terms of like combat or frame rate?
The combat.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, if Demon's Souls felt like a Bloodborne or even a Sekiro, which Sekiro is very fast.
This giant kind of,
Yeah, I definitely probably would have stuck with it more, but I think because it's slow makes me less like I'm not as like antsy to get to it, though I still want to get to it. I think that's still my plan for the winter break, is to play Demon's Souls. But
see, the opposite, I'm scared to like for the quicker stuff. Like I did Demon's Souls, but I don't have any additional confidence for like the rest of that. So
that's the good shit to me though.
Bloodborne once, like when that was like one of the first games I got on when I got my PS4. Because I bought my PS4 and I was like, I'm buying Bloodborne, I'm buying you can see how this story's going south pretty quickly. I bought like one, I think I got like 2K for my brother and like one other game maybe. And I tried Bloodborne and I was like, this is not gonna work. But I also like didn't look up anything. Like I feel like I didn't really give it a good shot. So I'd like to go back and try it again, but we'll see.
Have you tried Dark Souls at all?
No, I only did Demon's Souls.
Okay. I feel like if you're coming off of Demon's Souls, I think Dark Souls might be a good place to start.
Kind of what I was into. Like we'll kind of slowly
just go sequential order. Why not? I think Bloodborne is only like incrementally faster than the Souls series. It is faster, but it doesn't change the game. Sekiro is the one that changes the game in terms of the speed. Like Sekiro, you got to be really involved. But I think you'll be fine with the transition to Bloodborne.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see when I get around to that. I think I'm just playing like calm things mostly, and then Horizon. But speaking of things we'll see about, let's talk about that Uncharted movie. So Uncharted starring Tom Holland as Nathan Drake finally gets a trailer. It comes from Ryan Gilliam over at Polygon. After years of production trouble, Nathan Drake is finally coming to the big screen. Uncharted, starring Tom Holland as Nathan Drake and Mark Wahlberg as Victor Sully Sullivan and Sophia Ali as Chloe Fraser, will hit theaters February 18th, 2022. Sony released the film's first trailer Thursday morning. The first trailer for Uncharted shows Holland as a younger Nathan Drake, somewhere in between the 30-something Drake we see in the original Uncharted game and the kid Drake we see in Uncharted 3. For this adventure, Nate is looking for, is it Magellan's treasure? Magellan's treasure? Oh, yeah. I don't know why I did not read that. It happens to run into a treasure hunter looking for the same thing, Wahlberg's Sully. What a weird sentence this is. It seems like Nate Sully and one of Drake's love interests from the games, Chloe, will align against a currently unnamed bad guy played by Antonio Banderas. Is that, Banderas,
yes.
I think?
Yeah,
there we go. We slowly got through here. Okay, Blessing, gut reaction on this trailer. What'd you think?
Like, it looks all right. I'm not super excited for this. I don't think it looks like a great action movie. It looks serviceable and it looks like it's going to be fine. I don't think it looks bad, but there's nothing about this trailer that gets me excited. I think part of that is if you took Uncharted, the name Uncharted out of this movie, I would not see this movie. It just looks so basic and so generic. Yeah, it being Uncharted is the one thing that's making me go, okay, I want to see it because they do have some Uncharted moments. They have the plane sequence from 3. They have like some other sequences from Uncharted, and it seems like it's going to be a mashup of a lot of different Uncharted stuff, which I kind of have a love-hate thing with. You know, I this being a prequel, I wish they played it more conservatively, because I like the idea of in the future we get the retellings of 1, 2, and 3. But seeing that this is a grand mashup makes me think that, okay, we'll never get an Uncharted 3 movie, because they're not going to recreate that same plane sequence. They're not going to recreate the similar sequence, like the boat sequences that they show from 4. And so like I don't love that, but also, you know, separated out from that, I just, you know, Mark Wahlberg's Sully doesn't strike me as Sully, which it doesn't have to. I understand this is a younger Sully, but there's nothing about Mark Wahlberg's character that makes me go, oh yeah, this is super. I'm super excited to see him play off of Tom Holland. It just overall just seems very basic.
I don't see Nate or Sully in this trailer. I see Tom Holland playing Tom Holland. Yeah. I see Marky Mark playing Marky Mark, and that's like, you nail it, where it's just like, if they had taken the Uncharted name out of this, I wouldn't have told you that this had Uncharted inspirations in any way, shape, or form. I tweeted out where it's like, Uncharted feels like the kind of modern video game take on an Indiana Jones property, and when you translate that into a movie, it somehow has neither Indiana Jones or Uncharted in some way, like which is wild to me. Yeah, it's just that, and that's the main thing I think is lost, is like, I don't see Nate or Sully in this trailer. I do see Chloe. Yeah, in this trailer.
I think Chloe does seem very Chloe-ish, which I like, and I also like that they went with Chloe over Elena, because Chloe is that more like, she has more personality, and she is way more like competent on the adventure side of things, and I think it's going to be fun to have a back and forth with Nate and a character that a woman character that knows what they're
Chloe
doing.
Stands, we Eden.
Yeah, we Eden, and like, you know, Chloe character, it seems like they're going to play that rival, like Gary Oak to Ash Ketchum character, which I'm all about, as opposed to Elena. That if Elena was in this movie instead of Chloe, I think it would be Elena just, you know, trying to date Nate, or just being that character that shows up and then pieces out because they're not part of the adventure. And I don't think that's great for like a woman counterpart in a story like this. I think Chloe is a nice one to start off with, and then you can introduce Elena later on as the love interest.
So for both of you, are you watching this movie when it comes out?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, so split reaction. For me, I'm definitely watching it. I felt like I made that decision a long time ago for 2 reasons. One, it took so long for this thing to even exist that I'm just like, you made it. Congratulations.
It's a miracle that it exists.
It honestly is, because I've been hearing about this movie for so long, and it's been in production hell for so long, that it's like, okay, sure. I think a third layer of why I'm down to see this is because I've seen so few films in theaters since the pandemic hit. Like, I've only seen 1 film since the pandemic hit, that I'm like, why not? Okay, sure, I guess. And then the other reason is, when I first heard about this was right in the midst of my first starting to play through these games, where I did play through 1, 2, and 3, like, fairly close together. When I got like the collection and was playing with my brother, like, we kind of ran through those almost back to back over a really long time. And it's like, okay. And then we heard about the movie and we're like, all right, Edwin, we got to watch the movie when it comes out. And now we started 4 already. We haven't finished it yet. I've already pretty much decided that we're also going to do Lost Legacy just to finish it, like, just to round it.
You're going to like Lost Legacy more than all the other ones.
No, don't put any expectations on it. We need to learn our lesson with Janet and Uncharted. We can't put any expectations on it, or we're gonna be the ones upset. Okay,
we're just gonna keep going. And then so I'm gonna see it. I felt like fine from it. You know, I think it's a weird situation where a lot of like video games turned into movies we've seen in the more like fantastical settings in recent history. Things like Sonic, things like Pokemon. Mario's going to be coming out as well. So I think this is in that awkward situation where, like y'all have kind of alluded to, this could just be a general movie, but it happens to be an Uncharted movie, and that kind of mashup has mixed reactions from fans. So it has that kind of going against it, but like, I don't know. I like Tom Holland fine. I do agree that they don't, like, when I see them, I don't think of the characters that there are in reference to, which is inherently a negative. And I will say a young Sully is still old also. It's like, oh, this is a young Sully. Young Sully is still very old. Like, there's old and then there's older Sully. That's it. There's like two genres of this man.
My favorite
so,
moment playing through Uncharted, like replaying Uncharted 3, I think like last year or something, where you get to the flashback of like Nate and Sully meeting for the first time. I remember my wife walked into the room and she saw young Sully and she was like, "Oh, who's this character?" I was like, "Oh, that's young Sully." She was like, "Oh, shit, he's handsome man."
Yeah, when we were doing our reacts, we of course can catch that our live reaction to this trailer on youtube.com/KindaFunnyGames. I think one of the things I mentioned was that like Mark Wahlberg doesn't give Sully vibes, and somebody in chat on Twitch as we were reacting to it was like Sully wasn't born with a mustache or whatever, and I'm like, to be clear, I'm not saying that he needs a mustache. What I am saying is that like Mark Wahlberg and Tom Holland like playing off each other don't strike me as a dynamic duo in the way
Also,
that
I
Nathan
like that
Drake.
they used like they weren't born with a mustache. Like Mark Wahlberg is like 15 in this fucking movie or something.
Yeah, like I don't need him to have a mustache, but also like what I do need
here.
is Nathan Drake and Sully to have. Oh yeah, that is Sully. He is a good looking.
He's a good looking dude when he's younger.
Yeah, look at that.
I feel like
You
there
can
he
fucking
is.
get it.
I mean, he's not crazy young, but he is distinctly not old in the way that he is in like the other depictions.
Yeah, and my main issue with it just is Nathan Drake and Sully in the games have very different energies, and the way they interact with each other I think is fun, and they have that like father son vibe to some extent, right? Sully being this dude that it seems like he's from the 60s or some shit, and then Nathan Drake being that younger yet still kind of old dude. Mark Wahlberg and Tom Holland I don't see that dynamic, and like even if you remove the Uncharted thing from the movie, right? Yeah, you're showing me an action movie with Mark Wahlberg and Tom Holland. Even starting off from that basic place, I am still like, I don't know, man. Like I like Tom Holland, but I like Tom Holland as Spider-Man. Mark Wahlberg, give or take. Like I'm down to see how they interact with each other, but I'm not excited for it.
At this point in my life, I feel like I'm okay not getting more Mark Wahlberg, so I'm not gonna be excited for Wahlberg in general. But yeah, I like Tom Holland. I do think, yeah, when I see him, I don't really see Nathan Drake in just even like a visual sense. But I do think like Tom Holland playing like a sort of like lovable scamp is very Nathan Drake, and I feel like that part has not really been very acknowledged. Again, maybe people just don't agree with that take, but that's the degree to which I do see actually Nathan Drake in Tom Holland and vice versa, because Nathan Drake is someone who somehow like gets away with a bunch of shit that he like shouldn't really get away with, but he can kind of pull it off because he's like so charismatic and charming. And even though like Tom Holland as Spider-Man is more of a naiveness and ignorance infused in that charm in a way that like Nathan doesn't quite have, I feel like he has the ability to play that kind of character. So I actually think like, Tom Holland as Nathan Drake could be fun, but do I think this movie will be good? No, probably not actually. Like usually don't really love a lot of action movies anyway. But I'm gonna get my nachos. I'm gonna sit down and we're gonna see what happens.
We'll see what happens. Janet, let's also see what happens with PlayStation picks. Of course, this is where we highlight a few of the cool-looking games coming to PSN this week, starting with the big hitters being Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy that's coming to PS5 and PS4 on Tuesday, October 26th. And then Riders Republic is coming out on PS5 and PS4 on Thursday, October 28th. Yeah, it's already here. Yeah. As far as the picks themselves, we got Roki coming to PS5 on Thursday, October 28th. Roki is a stunning adventure set in the snow-capped wilderness. As Tove, you must explore an uncharted, no pun intended, world of hidden legends and forgotten monsters. Solve puzzles, collect curiosities, and uncover a tale of tragic loss as you chart your path to redemption. I feel like reading through this description, they really try to pull the Uncharted references, and you look at the game and it's like, no, this looks like a cute, fun little indie adventure game that you're going on. And so I'm all about it. I like the art style. Janet, does it do anything for you?
A little bit. I actually think this has come out before. Yes, this is like not new. This is just a port. I'm pretty sure. Correct? Maybe not.
You might be correct. I can look it up.
Yeah, because I feel like I've seen this before. Yes. Okay. So it's on a lot of other stuff. It came out, I think, in 2020 originally.
Yes.
I've glanced at it on Switch before because I am often hitting that low to high, like looking at like indie releases, looking at new releases, just seeing what stuff speaks to me. And I have like had this pique my interest before, so I think this could be a cool one. I like the general, setup of a classic kind of left to right adventure with some puzzle elements, some giant creatures to sort of interact with. Yeah, this is one that I would at least like wish list or check out or have on my radar and potentially pick up. But it's nothing about it is like super
Stand
specific
out.
to me, but I do generally like games that have this kind of setup.
And then our other pick for the week is Voice of Cards, The Isle Dragon Roars. This is coming to PS4 on Thursday, October 28th. Voice of Cards, The Isle Dragon Roars is an RPG set in a world of swords and sorcery, told entirely through the medium of cards. And as a reminder, this is one that you probably saw recently during a Nintendo Direct. It is a game that is directed by Yoko Taro, and it has a lot of familiar names that are working on it. The composer from a lot of the Nier games is on it as well, and I played the demo for this game, just a little bit of it. I didn't even play the full demo. I just wanted to check it out to see how I'd vibe with it, because upon the first reveal of it, I was like, okay, this is not a game for me, but it looks really interesting. When I saw the Yoko Taro name,
yeah, like it was fucking insane.
When I saw the Yoko Taro name, I was like, oh shit, I'm playing this. Playing the demo, it's definitively not for me, and I'm sad because like I'd love to get into a game like this, but at a time where there are so many games, I do have to pick and choose and go, all right, am I gonna play this game that I know isn't for me just because there are names that I really like working on it? The answer is no. But if you are really into those names and you feel like playing something from those minds, I think this could be a fun little one for you to check out, because I do think the concept of it is very novel. The idea that it is an RPG that is told entirely through cards, and they really stick to that.
Is there something about it that you didn't like or didn't think was good, or is it purely like this is doing X thing and I never enjoy like X thing in games?
I think it's the thing of this is doing X thing, and I didn't know entirely how I felt about X thing, because when you tell me video game, I mean, basically the whole premise of it being like this video game RPG being a game and story that is told through cards, and it's being like essentially narrated to you, and you are experiencing through this back and forth card game, or not even back and forth, through this like card game and card storytelling mechanic. You know, I think it's novel, but getting into it, playing like the first hour or so, I was just like, yeah, I don't prefer this to be the way I receive a story. You know, I'd prefer to play, if I'm gonna play an RPG, I'd rather take on that role and like walk through a world as opposed to have a world described to me. Like, and you know, I feel like what I'm describing right now is reading a book. And like, if you're that type of person that wants to read a fantasy novel, and if you like the like cards, or the card mechanic speaks to you in that way, you might enjoy it way more. For me, I'm not the fantasy novel kind of person, and so yeah, I just didn't that just didn't speak to me. But it's not that anything that the game does is like bad to me. I think it's just more so like I'd rather play something else. Like I have another game I'm playing that is a card game, and that is Inscription, that I'll talk about in a second. But like that does more things that I like because it's a roguelite and all these different things. But speaking of that, Janet, it's time to talk about what we've been playing. I just mentioned Inscription, so I can get that out the way. It's a game that's not on PlayStation, and so I'm filing it under PSP, aka Port the Software to PlayStation, which still isn't a great acronym, but I'm sticking with it. Inscription is a game that recently came to PC, and I played a little bit of it. And by a little bit, I mean like 3.5 hours, which might be quite a bit of it actually. And I'm really enjoying this game. If you haven't heard of it, it is a game that is being published by Devolver Digital, and the premise of it is a horror card-based roguelike game with escape room elements. And it sounds like this weird mashup of different genres, but it is honestly a really fun take on this. Essentially, you are in first person. You're this character that is in a cabin with this other character who takes on the role of being this game master, who is taking you through this card game where you are exploring through these forest environments, and you get into different encounters, and those encounters take the form of back and forth card games. And so the rule set to the card game is very similar to something like a Hearthstone or even like a Yu-Gi-Oh, but really simplified. And so like you are essentially trying to take down your opponent's life before they take down yours, and you have monster cards in your deck, and you sacrifice cards that you play to summon other cards. The rules of it are really simple, and I think that allows it to have really interesting cards that they're able to give you as you play through the campaigns. And so like you'll get a card that is hey, this card, when you sacrifice it, it actually goes back into your hand, right? Like very Yu-Gi-Oh style card effects. And I've been having a blast with it, but it's one that's not on PlayStation. I would love for it to come to PlayStation or just a console in general, because like I think playing it on PC, it struck me as something that doesn't need to be contained on that platform. I wouldn't be surprised to see Inscription come elsewhere, because I think it's a really fun game, especially for this spooky season. And so I've been having a really good time with that one. Janet, what have you been playing?
Yeah, I want to check that one out, actually. We'll see if I can get around to Inscription. I like you mentioning that it's like, even though I did throw this back at you, where I'm like, are you trying to say I'm dumb? But I like that it's a little bit more simplified, because I'm also someone that has yet to fully embrace the card game genre. I've had like some games that I've liked, like Signs of Sojourner is a game I really like. It's a card game. The card element's also very simplistic in that game, but that's probably the only one that's like really like grabbed me. So I'm hoping this might be another one. But for what I'm playing Toem, because I needed something relaxing. I needed to feel like I wouldn't be dying all the time after doing Metroid Dread. Toem is on PlayStation. Greg talked about it previously as well. I think I might have mentioned it last week a little bit too, but I've gotten a little further into that. I'm like an hour or so in, and it's awesome. You just walk around. It's another game where it's very much an adventure game where the puzzle solving you're doing is through photography. So it'll be something as simple as, find my friends. They're like, scattered throughout this forest, and you take pictures of them. It also has like a, I think compendium is the word for it, where kind of like a catalog, but you can take pictures of pictures too. And there's like puzzles that are like, lightly sequenced based on camera work as well. Something like, an early one is someone's missing a sock. They're like, I lost my sock. Let me know if you can find it. And like the way you find it is by like, doing another kind of quest line where you can engage with another character and play their mini game. And if you win that, then you get the sock. So sometimes the quest lines aren't as clear on what you need to do. So that's kind of where like the puzzle element comes in. Been pretty simple to get through so far. I do think some of the challenges might get a little bit more difficult if you're going for like a completionist run or like a platinum or anything. But I really, so far, my favorite thing about this game, besides the charming, cute black and white art style, is the attention to detail. I think the animations really do a great job of bringing this game to life. Something as simple as when you first start the game, you can like interact with your TV, which is, pretty basic. But then when you sit in your desk chair, your character swivels around in it. And I'm like, already sold. There we go. I just love, I think little things like that can really help games like this stand out, where, there's a million games coming out at a time, plenty of things happening in the indie space, but little stuff like that can be charming and fun and feel unique can really help distinguish this kind of game from other ones. So I've really been enjoying my time with Toem. It's got like great sound design as well. Other than that, I did dip into Riders Republic a little bit. It has that free trial happening up until the game's release. I think you can play up to 4 hours of the game. And it's solid. I do think in the era of like Forza Horizon being right around the corner, I do sort of wonder, is this something that I want to sink my time into when Forza Horizon is going to check those boxes for me in terms of I'm going around, I'm exploring, I'm doing events, they have a lot of the same general constructions. But one thing I do want to say in praise of Riders Republic so far with my time with it is I think it has like a lot of little cute fun elements, stuff like, everyone's in a dinosaur costume, like riding their bikes or something like that. I think goofy stuff like that is cool. And they have these little, I don't know how common these will be, but there's sort of these like little challenge parkour-y elements where you have to kind of go through almost like an obstacle course.
Dude, I've done one of those. They're awesome.
Yes, that thing was really cool. That's probably my biggest highlight of the game, with also a shout out just to the biking. I don't know if it's just really well done or if it's just that I don't get to play a lot of games where you get to use a mountain bike. I feel it's not as utilized of a traversal mechanism, even in like racing games, but I love the mountain biking in this game.
Let me tell you about this game coming out soon called GTA San Andreas, the definitive edition. Hella mountain biking in that game. You can go to Mount Chiliad, have a great time, Janet.
Yeah, like mountain biking in Riders Republic, mountain biking in downhill Lonely Mountains Downhill, which I'm not sure if that's only on Xbox or if it's in other places too. Like I'm a sucker for it, mostly because I read Mountain Biking Mania as a kid. Like this, it's like one of those kids sports books or whatever, but I love that book as a kid. I just have been obsessed with it in a concept ever since. So if that kind of stuff speaks to you, I think it's definitely worth at least checking out Riders Republic. I do think it has like some fun shticks going on, but again, it just feels like it's, having played Forza Horizon, I'm like, I feel pretty confident that Horizon will be better, and they're both kind of similar. So that's kind
I'm going through that same struggle too, and I think The place that I'm happy to be in right now is the fact that Riders Republic is coming out this week, and there's like a free trial that's already going on, which is how I've been playing it, and I'm trying to get all my Riders Republic energy out within the next couple of weeks before Forza Horizon 5 comes out, because I when I first previewed the game, I guess a couple months ago at this point, I had a lot of the same comparisons in my head of, oh yeah, this seems like the open world sports game that you go to like have that high colorful positive energy and do all these events and knock these out and do all these races, and it gave me a lot of Forza Horizon vibes, but you just can't top Forza Horizon. And so like them coming out close to each other, I think is going to do Riders Republic such a disservice. But I will say that I have been enjoying my time with Riders Republic, and I think that the differentiator for me is going to be playing it with friends. Forza, I know for sure is multiplayer, but I don't necessarily enjoy playing Forza multiplayer as much. I kind of like playing that game by myself. Riders Republic is made to be played multiplayer, and you know they have that massively multiplayer aspect to it, where when you open up the map, you see a bunch of other players' ghosts, and it's like it has a very much a big festival vibe to it, which I think is super novel and super cool. And yeah, like when I played in the preview, I haven't played it multiplayer in this latest free trial, but wait, I missed what you said. What do you say?
Kind of like the Horizon Festival. Again, and it's just so compare them like.
But like this is an actual, like in the Horizon Festival, you know, it's less so, I guess if you're playing it online, you have a bunch of different cars there too. But Riders Republic, I think, really doubles down on when you open up your map, you see all the icons, and it's like, wow, I'm here with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of players, even though like it's just their ghosts. But I think they do a good job of kind of building that feel. And I haven't played it I haven't played it with friends in this latest free trial. I did in the preview, and I had such a great time doing those like same open world obstacles where you would come across it, and it's like trials, where in trials you're trying to get to the end of the obstacle course while balancing your bike and all that shit. You know, I did that with a friend, and we were doing that for a good like 20 minutes, just figuring out how to get to the end of this obstacle, because it's also timed. And I don't know, man. I just love that kind of stuff. I love the games that just let you just fuck around in the open world and have a good time and kind of define your own fun. And I think Riders Republic seems like it's going to do that. But how long is it going to last, I think, is the question. And for that, we'll see. I think it's going to come and go pretty quickly, especially with Forza Horizon 5 around the corner.
Yeah, I think the real quick last thing I want to say on Riders Republic, even though this is not how I game, like I don't game based on like, this was $10 and it has 200 hours, but like there's an incredible amount of content in the game. Like there are user created like challenges and areas that like, if you get into this and like it, I have good news for you, because there's like a cajillion things to do, not just in the fact that it's open world by design where you can get these like little collectibles or photo ops or different challenges or different vehicles, but there's also just so much in things you can make and things you can engage with that other people have made.
And I think that factors into why I like this game. I'm going to make a reference that's going to make everybody roll their eyes. But playing this game gives me a lot of GTA Online energy.
I was like, what?
Yeah, where like GTA Online, one of the big reasons I love GTA Online is just because so much of it is community driven in terms of the events that people make, and like a lot of like there's so many different activities, and it's less so about that hardcore I'm leveling up, I'm ranking up, I'm doing all this shit, and more so about, hey, I'm just here to like do a race and have a good time. And there are the like marathon races in Riders Republic. They're not called that, I forget exactly what they're called, but the races where it's like you are going from downhill skiing and you transform into being in jetpack, and then you transform into a bike race, and it ends as a bike race. That type of thing that I absolutely adore and that I think is so much fun. And then yeah, like I can't wait to see user created stuff. And like there was one race I was doing too where, you know, I was doing a downhill bike race, and as I was going down, I saw somebody cross me with like, I think they were skiing or some shit, but like they crossed my racetrack, and it made the world feel alive and feel chaotic in a way that I really like in a game like this. And so I look forward to continuing it. You know, it has a lot of things that I like about this side of Ubisoft games, the trials, the it's the other game I'm thinking of, the Trackmanias, you know, stuff like that. I really like that side of Ubisoft games, because I think they're less held back by the checklist box structure that I think we associate a lot of Ubisoft games with. I think they lean into that in a way that actually works for these types of games, because these types of games don't come around as often as like an open world action game. And so yeah, like I look forward to playing more of it. But in terms of the other game I'm playing, the last game I want to talk about is Guardians of the Galaxy, because we have our review up right now. That's on youtube.com/KindaFunnyGames, and it's also on the KindaFunny Gamescast podcast feed if you want to listen to our full review, again featuring Greg Miller, me, Snowbike Microphone, and Tim Geddes. And we talked about our full review. I'm 10 chapters into the game, which is probably about 2/3 of the way through, and so I still have a little bit of a ways to go before I finish the game. But I really, really, really enjoy that game. I think it's a solid, very good video game. I think it falls short of excellence, but I think for it being a very good video game in the first in a potential series, I think that puts it in a really good place because I think the story is good, the world is good, the characters are really good, the banter between the characters is so enjoyable. Like, this is a Guardians of the Galaxy game that I think does all the Guardians of the Galaxy things right. And I'm somebody that, in terms of Guardians of the Galaxy as an IP, I like Guardians of the Galaxy, the MCU movie, but I'm definitely somebody who I'm not in love with it as much as so many people are in love with it. I know so many people adore Guardians of the Galaxy, and I come out of it being like, oh no, I liked it, it's fun, it's fine, and it has good energy, but it's not my favorite stuff. This game has started to make Guardians of the Galaxy something that I am liking even more so than what the MCU has set me up to like it of. And a big part of that is spending so much more time with these characters, and the whole game has that Naughty Dog back and forth banter where you are walking with or you're traversing and exploring with other characters the whole time. Most of the game is the 5 different Guardians, between you being Peter Quill and then Rocket, Gamora, Groot, and Drax. And so, like, at any point you can have 5 characters that are interacting with each other in a way where in Naughty Dog games it's often 2 or 3, right? And in Uncharted it'll be you solely and Chloe, right? Or in Last of Us it'll be Ellie and Ellie's girlfriend, whose name escapes me for some reason. What was that?
Dina, right?
Dina, yeah, Dina. It'll be Ellie and Dina, right? Or like Ellie and Joel or whoever. And in this game, it is you and the 4 other Guardians, and that I think lends so much to different variations of dialogue, where it's you bantering with Gamora, it's Gamora bantering with Groot, it's Groot well, maybe not Gamora bantering with Groot, but it's Gamora bantering with Drax, it's Groot bantering with Rocket, right? And all those different permeations. And I think that keeps the game moment to moment so interesting, and keeps like a lot of the narrative aspects and story portions and character portions of the game alive throughout the entire experience. Some of that stuff I think can get grating when the characters argue, and there's a lot of arguing in this game that I kind of got sick of. But I think they try to balance that stuff, but I think that balancing can be tweaked a lot for the sequel. My big gripes with the game have to do mainly with gameplay, where I think the combat is serviceable, but not as interesting and involved as it could be. I think a lot of the enemies feel very it's not very. A lot of the enemies feel bullet spongy, and it's not terrible. It's not like The Division, but it's, for a single player action game, they do feel enough bullet spongy to where combat can often feel like a drag, because it is like, oh, I gotta go through this again. All right, let me just keep on shooting at these guys until they finally get drained of their health. That, and then also the other characters in the game that aren't you as Peter Quill basically act effectively as your abilities that you throw out. And I feel like there's not enough rhyme or reason as to the strategy that you employ when you are in those combat situations. When I would get into a combat situation, it would often just be, cool, I'm gonna essentially throw out all the characters to use their abilities, and then the cooldowns go, and then as soon as the cooldowns are done, I'm like, cool, let's throw you out again. And I'm never having to put much thought into which abilities or which characters am I using, because like the other characters all have their own separate abilities that you can choose, right? I can press L1 and then circle to choose a character, and then I press like triangle to choose a certain ability from that character. I'm never thinking too hard about that stuff. I think that stuff is very surface level in terms of how it is actually implemented, and it could use a lot more polishing and tweaking to actually make combat feel more fun and more involved, and more like there are stakes in terms of how you approach the combat. That's one of the things I wanted the most. But overall, I think it's a very good video game that surprised me for what we've gotten out of the trailers and previews. I was not expecting much, and I think this game really delivered in terms of being a good or very good Guardians of the Galaxy game.
Did you play the Marvel Avengers campaign?
I did.
Oh, how does it stack up against that?
Oh, it's way better. It's way better. I think I like the
play it, because I already decided that I'm only gonna play this if people are like, it's literal, like it's like you got it. Like if people like are clamoring about it, I have heard good things from you and like a lot of other people. Okay, that is good to hear though. That it.
Oh yeah, I think it's
a campaign.
Yeah, I think they're incomparable though. Like the Avengers campaign, I think is a good campaign, but that also comes with the caveat of this is a campaign in a multiplayer game, and I'm coming into it at knowing that it's that. And there's a lot of things that for me I had to forgive in the Avengers campaign. Guardians of the Galaxy feels like a single player game. It has that same level of TLC that you would want out of a single player Guardians game, and it feels in many moments inspired by both a Naughty Dog game and also inspired by Mass Effect in a way that people are going to appreciate without the heights and level of depth that you get from either of those things, right? Like it's not an RPG like Mass Effect is, and it doesn't have those big set piece cinematic moments of an Uncharted, but I think there's enough taken from both of those things with some Spider-Man and Insomniac Spider-Man mixed in there that makes it something that feels full. And yeah, I would put it way above the Avengers game, like easily, which is ridiculous because it's Eidos Montreal compared to Crystal Dynamics. And I think over the years, Crystal Dynamics kind of, established themselves as like, hey, we are the premier Western Square Enix studio. But Eidos Montreal, I feel like just came through and lapped them.
They did support on Batman Arkham Asylum way back in the day. They've had
Eidos Montreal?
Yeah.
Dude, I love Eidos Montreal, right? Because that sounds like such a diss, but they also made the Deus Ex games, the modern ones.
Yeah,
and
those are fucking rad games.
Yeah, I love those games, and I was bummed out when they started working on Guardians of the Galaxy because I wanted more Deus Ex. But now that I played Guardians of the Galaxy, I'm like, you know what, man? Like, make another one. Sure, why not? I do want to see more Deus Ex, but yeah, like I think Eidos Montreal has something here, and so I expect and hope to see a sequel with a lot of like improvements and polishing. Janet, before we get out of here, I want to speed run 2 quick segments. Are you ready?
Yes.
First segment is building the list. Of course, as me and you have been hosting together, I've been introducing the segment where we try to make a list of 100 recommended indie or PSN titles to give to people who are looking for recommendations for games to get on sale or just in general if they're just perusing through the PlayStation Store. So far, our list is at 8 different games. Both of us bring a game to introduce to the segment to add to the list, and then we also ask the audience for their submissions. I'm going to start off. My game that I'm bringing is Broken Age, which is a Double Fine game, and it's a game that I really adore. It's probably my favorite Double Fine game. It is an adventure game, like a classic adventure game from Double Fine. But it came out recently, right? It's like not literally classic, but it has the classic style to it, I should say. And it's about a boy and a girl who are from very different kind of worlds. The boy is from like a space, lives in a space station and is from like this futuristic kind of setting. And then the girl is from a like more of a fantastical, mystical setting. Barrett's showing gameplay here. Great work, Barrett. And the art style is dope in the way that their stories kind of evolve and I guess like interact with each other is really dope. And I think this game is super cool, super creative, and is everything you love out of something from Double Fine. And so that is my submission to building the list. Janet, what is yours?
That's a great one. And the puzzles in that are really challenging. I really enjoyed my time with Broken Age, even though I definitely got very stuck at some parts and had to look it up, but great game. For me, I'm going with a basic one. Y'all have heard it before, and if you haven't heard it before, that's why I brought it, so more people can play this game. I'm keeping it simple. I'm going Chicory. I just want to make sure that's on the list, and I'm like, it hasn't been put on there, and I think it, is still timely in that it's this year. Definitely, if you have not hit up this game this year, please go do so, Barrett. But Chicory, it's awesome. It's an adventure game where the primary mechanic is painting. So you paint the world in part for fun, sometimes also for quests, and sometimes also for these environmental puzzles. It has an incredible story as well. Honestly, this game just, I think, knocks pretty much everything out of the park except for like the boss battles. It's probably my only complaint of the game. Really fun adventure. Definitely, you see some of that inspiration from things like Link's Awakening in terms of like the cute NPCs, in terms of the quest lines, though it's a little bit less complicated than that. And I just really adore this game. It was my game of the year for a really long time. It is probably, Deathloop's my game of the year right now. So it's been on PlayStation, I guess, for my favorite games this year. But this is definitely one of them. It's also really affordable as well. I believe it's $20. So yeah, definitely one that you need to pick up, and super fun to play on PlayStation as well with like the touchpad and things. Can utilize that for painting. It's just fantastic all around. I platinumed this and absolutely loved it. So please play it if you have not already, because I think it'll appeal to a lot of people, as it did to me.
Hell yeah. Of course, I asked the audience to put in their submissions as well. And shout out to the audience. The audience loves this, apparently, on patreon.com/KindaFunnyGames, because there are so many submissions. So many that I'm pulling in 2 different submissions this week. I love both of these because neither give like a deep dive explanation why. Nikosh writes in and says, Disc Jam is so good. Holy fuck. And that's all they write in. And so Disc Jam is being added. And Disc Jam is one I could speak to. That was a PlayStation Plus game a few years ago. And it's very much like a Windjammers, where you are playing a back and forth disc game. This one is actually behind the back as opposed to Windjammers, which is like a top-down pixel art game. And you are trying to score on your opponent's goal by throwing the disc around them. It's like the opposite of dodgeball, where instead of trying to hit the opponent, you're trying to miss the opponent. And you have like all these special shots. You can play 1v1, you can play 2v2. There are a lot of options in there. And this is a really fun game that I'm actually very pleased that Nikosh wrote in this one, because I've not heard anybody else talk about Disc Jam. I feel like nobody else talks about how fun this game is, but it's a really fun game. In fact, Janet, do you want to play this sometime? Because I don't know if you have any history with Disc Jam or are interested.
I'm down to play it because I haven't played it, and it's one of the few games on this list. Like, I'm kind of keeping a mental note for myself, like, what on here have I not played? And I've played most of them, but I have not done Disc Jam yet, so I'd be down
to play some Disc Jam. It's a really fun game. I would love to return to it.
Get to 100. We should make it into a bracket.
Ooh, that'd be fun. I like that. We would have to play the games that we haven't played, but yeah, I do like that idea. And then last one, again, I pull in 2 from the audience this time. This one is from Travis C, who writes in and just says sound shapes. Sound Shapes, and I'm adding that to the list. Sound Shapes is one that I think needs no explanation. It's a fun platformer with a lot of music creation elements to it. If you had a PS4 in the early days, or if you had a PS Vita, you're probably very familiar with it. I think it was a PS Plus game, because I own that game, and I don't remember buying it, but maybe I was just making it rain that day. Who knows?
I'm just falling out. You know how it gets. Yeah, I actually just started this one this year because I got my Vita for Christmas, like last Christmas, and this is one of the games that I got on it. I'm really enjoying it. Slow, it's definitely something I'm playing mostly for fun. I'm sure it has some levels of edification, but I'm mostly just playing it for fun, and I'm really enjoying it. And whenever people always tell me about how much they love this game and how into the Beck level or world that there was. I haven't hit that one yet. I'm excited to get there, but I think it is cool that there are a lot of tracks from like very notable artists involved in this as well.
They're showing gameplay, and it's making me so nostalgic. I can't believe I'm nostalgic for early PS4. But Sound Shapes was so good. Yeah, like it's just a very creative game for how it uses the music, and like weaving that in with the actual level design. And so
that's what I've liked about having my Vita. Like, I know it's kind of a weird thing to have gotten in the modern era, especially as things are slowly on the way to close down, but it's sort of where I go for weird random stuff I missed, or just things that are like, oh, this is cheap on the store, so I'm just going to hit it up. And it's been fun to kind of dig into sort of a more modern but still kind of retro vibe for PlayStation. And yeah, that's really fun. I've seen people tweet at us too saying like, hey, I just got my Vita, and you and Greg did an episode on best Vita with including some PSP games that I always recommend people check out if they just got that and are looking to fill that library.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I was looking through our episodes recently just to like remind myself what topics we've done already, and I saw that episode, the 15, I think it was called the 15 games you need to get on Vita or something like that. And so, yeah, if you ever have any questions, hit up that episode. And also hit up this list, which now rounds out at 12 submissions. So we got Superliminal, The Witness, A Short Hike, Undertale, Moonlighter, What Remains of Edith Finch, Disco Elysium, Final Cut, Deadlight, Broken Age, Chicory, Disc Jam, and now Sound Shapes. Janet, one more segment to round out this show. We got Trophies and Chill, which we haven't done in a while. Ian Aronoff writes in and says, please rate my profile. Which platinums should I work on? Which platinums should I be ashamed of? What games should I play more? Rate my profile, please. I am opening up Ian's profile. I'm going through it right now. I didn't pre-brief on this one, and so I'm experiencing it as I go. And it looks like
Ian's True Colors Platinum. Respect it.
Wait, does he have the platinum? I don't think he has the platinum for it. He only has 7 of the trophies.
Filtered platinum, and that's what came up. So I don't know. Maybe it's
they've got the PS5 platinum.
They got the PS5 platinum. Smart, and they started on the PS4 one, which is really funny. They want to get the platinum for both. They are also playing Bouncy Bullets too. For both consoles, I think, because I see 2 separate trophy lists. Yeah, for PS5 and PS4, they're playing Bouncy Bullets too. Very obviously for the platinum, and so I respect you for that.
Some ones that speak to me as far as platinums, Overcooked All You Can Eat. I also have that platinum. Platinum in 4 months, which is I think pretty impressive, especially because that does have some multiplayer.
That's a commitment.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's 4 months and 3 weeks, so just barely under. It definitely took me. I went slow through that one. It took me like a year to do that one. It Takes Two, also definitely that one. I feel like special shout out because that means you needed someone else to be down. That or you I don't know, hooked up another controller and we're just playing both characters, which was either way, it's a level of commitment that I don't have. So shout out to that.
Also, I should have mentioned before, Muggle Prince here, aka Ian, has 86 platinums in total, which is very impressive. Very, very impressive. A lot of these games, though, as I'm looking through them, are
they're the Greg Miller fucking level of
they're the Greg Miller. I'm trying to platinum whatever I can type of games.
Memory Lane, Snake Boat, a terrific arcade.
Autorific arcade. Donuts and Justice, of course, a banger that we all played on 2 separate platforms.
Dragon Break Classic head to head.
Freddy Spaghetti
was what should they go for next?
I'm gonna say Kena Bridge of Spirits. All right, Ian, if you're gonna claim to be a platinum prince out here, what was that, Janet?
The hard mode of that game, you want them to go for that platinum? That's like so different. No,
they've gotten so many. No. Ian's gotten so many cheap platinums here that we're making him work for it. I know he has Overcooked All You Can Eat, but no, I'm making him work for this one. Ian, get Kena Bridge of Spirits.
I also wanted to check if Ian maybe did the hack where you could kind of cheese to get the trophy. They did not, so they would have to, and because that game has been updated, they would have to actually go through hard mode, unlike myself, where I got that fucking trophy because,
because just some insurance for the future. I think a non-horrible...
But then I looked at all the collectibles for that game, I was like, fuck no, I'm not getting this platinum, I don't want to do this.
I was like, here's the mail. I spent one night kind of working on it, and it's like, never mind. For me, my recommendation, Deathloop. They only have 20 out of the 55, so there definitely is a good way to go on that. But I feel like it would be both fun and challenging, but also like kind of manageable. So that would be my recommendation for the next one to get in terms of one that's maybe involves a little bit more work than some of the other ones that are on there.
Ian, you've heard it here first. Go get your platinums for both Kena Bridge of Spirits and Deathloop. Report back with your results if you're able to actually do it. If you're not, still write in because we want to shame you for it. Just kidding, we won't shame you. I gotta stop slandering people on this podcast because that's how I get. I guess that is how I got this crown. That is how I got this crown. Is by slandering a brand.
False kings.
Just so you know, fun.com. We're good now. You know, this crown was everything. They tweeted at me. They were like, "Hey, check your mailbox."
Stop all your.
They said, "Check your mailbox." I opened up my mailbox. I saw the crown, and I was like, "Good. They know who's the real king here." I don't play around with it. All right, I take this.
It makes sense.
I take this King of Halloween thing very seriously. Janet,
where's your costume from today?
Wait, sorry, what was that?
Where's your costume from today?
I still can't hear. It's wild. Your audio keeps cutting out. We got to fix that. We got to figure out how to fix that. I can't hear what you're saying, Janet. Janet, before we go, where can people find your work?
You can find me on Twitter and across the internet under the handle Game Onysus. That's Game ONYSUS. And special shout out to my Instagram, which I've decided to use again on a platform, but I'm using that again. So go check that out if you're interested in photos. And I do a lot of like vloggy type stories. So yeah, you can see me slowly play through Horizon.
Hell yeah. As a reminder, for PS I Love Photo Mode, we're still doing Death Stranding, so get those photo modes in. Remember, this has been PS Love You XOXO, your PlayStation podcast, where each and every week we join you to talk about the hottest topics in PlayStation. We've got a Patreon post show for those that are subbed at the silver level of patreon.com/KindaFunnyGames, so stick around for that. Otherwise, until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you.